on the side, saying that this signifies the death of white farmers. That showed that the President of the United States was out of depth. He should have brought something to the fore.
And lastly, the man suspected of gunning down two Israeli embassy staff in Washington on Wednesday night has been charged with 2 counts of first-degree murder. Elias Rodriguez has also been charged with various offences related to the possession of firearms. The BBC's Jane Jakim.
The young couple were leaving an event at the Jewish Museum when they were killed. Elias Rodriguez is accused of walking up to them, shooting them at close range. He's charged with 2 counts of first-degree murder, as well as murder of a foreign official. The authorities are investigating his motive, which may lead to a terrorism charge. They've raided his home in Chicago. In court, Elias Rodriguez was told he could be facing the death penalty or life in prison. Although police believe the gunman acted alone, they've stepped up their presence outside the nation's synagogues and schools.
Recapping on your top stories, Nigeria's ruling All Progressive Congress Party has endorsed President Bola Tinubu to run for a second and final term at the next elections that are due in early 2027. The APC at a summit in the country's capital, Abuja, said that it wanted Tinubu to continue with reforms that the government says have rebooted the economy. Now, for any news stories you'd like to share with us, please send us an email to newsroom@channelafrica.co.za or call us at +27 11 714 4459. Channel Africa News, I'm Onele Ntsinzi.
SABC News. The African Perspective.
Africa, and good morning to each and every one of you who spend the day with us, who spend the weeks on end with us, and who love to share the conversations of the African continent with us. It's 9:06 Central Africa time, and you're tuned in to On the Move with myself, Palesa Tau, and Benjamin Moshatamaand, with you for the next 3 hours, giving you news, views, and plenty of entertainment this Friday morning. All of that from the African perspective. Happy Friday to you, and as usual, we don't disappoint. We make sure that we give you a lot of entertainment, the world of the creative industries on the African continent and the world over, and of course just a lot of music, a lot of fun. We are hanging out this Friday morning, and we're making sure that we're enjoying the conversations and the time that we spend together. Join us on www.channelafrica.co.za, on our audio bouquets, DSTV channel 802 and OpenView HD channel 628, and of course the SABC Plus app. Well, what do we have in store for you today? This is what's coming up. Speaking about the Johannesburg Art Gallery, so we're starting with the visual arts this morning in South Africa, and they're launching what is called Isisho Nezaga, which means directly translated sayings and idioms. It's an innovative exhibition that explores the intricate relationships between traditional art, culture and language. So this project will be showcasing the richness and complexity of Africa's proverbs and idioms through art. This sounds like it's very interesting. We'll be chatting in the first hour of the show to Kwezi Gule, Chief Curator at the Johannesburg Art Gallery. Sticking with the arts in the next hour of the show, that's the second hour. What's the impact of African street art on urban landscapes and communities? That's the question that we are asking in the second hour of today's show. And we'll be chatting to a very interesting individual, street artist Dibongs Mahlati, who is an award-winning street artist, by the way, from the west of Johannesburg. And we're finding out a little bit more about the historical background of street art, the role it plays in urban transformation, and how it empowers communities. And then a nice surprise for many Africans. I know this particular artist that will be featuring today is not just someone that is well known and loved here in South Africa, but throughout the African continent. She goes by the name of King Ta, and that is Thandiswa Mazwai. She'll be joining us on our live stream on our social media platforms to chat a little bit about her history, you know, starting off in the days of the band Bongo Muffin to become the icon that she is today in the world of African music, in the world of African jazz, and how she also sort of fuses in her own cultures, her own traditions into the music space. So that's also something that's very exciting. Looking forward to that in today's final hour.
Hey man, we're looking forward to all of these fantastic subject matters. And today we love looking at the creative economy. It has projected that by 2030, 10% of the global creative goods export will be right here on the continent at the value of 200 billion US dollars. That's a lot of potential there that the creative economies hold here on the African continent. So that's why we celebrate them. Remember, you're listening to us on DSTV channel 802, OpenView 628, and don't forget that you can find us on the SABC Plus app and also on our website www.channelafrica.co.za. Hey, let's celebrate the continent's creatives. Let's go.
Mix Vibration sur Channel Africa.
Révérend Docteur Alain.
Je suis content, très heureux d'être de la partie ce soir et bonjour à tous nos auditeurs.
Je rappelle que pour les intimes, il vous appelle bien sûr BMB. Aujourd'hui, nous parlons courage sur Mix Vibration. Comment définissez-vous le terme courageux?
Ça vient du latin cor, qui veut tout simplement exprimer la bravoure, la force de l'âme ou encore la virilité, le héroïsme que quelqu'un peut avoir en face de difficultés, en face de problèmes, en face de défis.
Mix Vibration, tous les dimanches de 18h à 19h, temps universel.
9 to 12 midday, Central African Time. On the Move with Palesa Tau and Benjamin Moshatamaand.
Happy Friday, everybody. You're tuned in to On the Move with myself, Palesa Tau, and Benjamin Moshatamaand. Because it is Friday, you know, we focus on the creativity on the African continent. There's a huge creative economy here on the continent that is actually sought after all across the world. And this is the right place where you can come to really explore the creative economy and explore the creativity of who we are as African people. Well, the Johannesburg Art Gallery in South Africa is launching what is called Isisho Nezaga, directly translated to sayings and idioms. It's an innovative exhibition that explores the intricate relationships between traditional art, culture, and language. This project showcases the richness and complexity of African proverbs and idioms, highlighting their significance in imparting wisdom, offering consolation, and navigating difficult social situations. Isisho Nezaga invites visitors to embark on a journey of discovery, revealing the multifaceted nature of traditional art. We're chatting about this with Kwezi Gule, Chief Curator at the Johannesburg Art Gallery. Kwezi, thank you so much for joining us this morning. Good morning and welcome to On the Move.
Thank you very much. Pleased to be here.
Isisho Nezaga, that's actually quite interesting because we have a lot of sayings and idioms on the African continent. And because we are so multifaceted, we have so many cultures, so many traditions, so many languages on the African continent. Each and every one of those have their own unique sayings and idioms. So I'm sure there's a richness in history and in language that you can take in this particular curation.
Yes, so the idea was that a lot of the work that has been done around what we call Southern African traditional collections, sometimes it's called the ethnographic collections in various museums, has been produced, the scholarship has been produced by people who don't necessarily speak the languages of the communities where these objects come from. Mm-hmm. So you will find that there's a lot of detail about what the objects are made from and where they originate and what the uses in everyday situations are, but what is often missing is the linguistic part of how these objects feature in poetry, in music, and other cultural elements of language, including proverbs. So proverbs are a way actually of accessing other ways of looking at certain objects, not just their functional significance, but their cultural and sometimes also religious significance.
One of the most well-known proverbs here in South Africa, umuntu ngubuntu, ngumuntu ngabantu, meaning, I am because you are, highlighting our greatness of Ubuntu, which is what we call humanity. That's just one, but there's so many in every language, and I'm sure some that are so untapped into. But how do you mix the two? How do you bring together the richness of our languages on the continent through visual arts?
Okay, so let me give you just one example. So, for instance, in isiZulu, you have a saying that ingane engakhali ifela embelekweni.
Yes.
Which also has a Sesotho equivalent, which is ngwania sa ling ushwela tarin. So Sotho is not my language. So, but at least I hope I didn't butcher that too much.
I don't think so.
In any case, it's the same. It's the same words referring to the same object, but just in different languages. So, for instance, what I want to do is to bring out these aspects of culture, like what is Imbeleko, for instance. But also interestingly, in isiZulu, Imbeleko doesn't only refer to the thing that mothers carry babies with, but it also refers to the ritual of Imbeleko, which is a isigo that is done for infants when they are being basically introduced to the ancestors.
Yeah.
So the significance now of this object suddenly goes beyond just the object itself and its day-to-day function. It goes into language. It goes into rituals. So you find that there's a whole web of meaning surrounding these objects, which we often just look at and say, "Oh, that's a very nice cultural object," but we don't often think much beyond what we are seeing.
Just recently, this week, in fact, on one of our features here on the show, we're speaking about African languages, but we were also speaking about almost like the losing of Africa's written languages, if there were any, historical written languages, because we know that our verbal languages were passed on from generation to generation, but it takes time for us to really understand the written language of a continent. It's important to show that we are literary rich in literature here on the African continent through any means necessary to keep that history alive. Is this something that is part of this particular exhibition, bringing through the richness of our languages, the richness of our cultures, especially the richness of our literature through these different mediums of art?
Well, yes, there is a component of this exhibition that deals with language in general and literature in particular. But it also deals with history. So, for instance, there's a saying in isiZulu which says, "Ungumela umuntu kwayekatiki." Now, what is utiki? Okay, so the meaning is the saying itself is speaks to if you are sort of putting a threat to somebody or an ultimatum. So that's what it means. What is Utigi? Utigi is a British coin called a tiki, which we don't use these days because obviously we use rands and cents.
Yeah.
But in the old days, when South Africa was still a British colony, they used to use British money, and one of those coins was Utigi, which was the lowest denomination in the coins. So what it tells you also now is embedded in that saying is not just the pre-colonial sayings and idioms, but also the fact that idioms change over time and incorporate some of the elements of whatever is political situations are going on. So so there is a kind of a historical element to it as well. But also interesting for me is that if you dig deeper into some of the objects, so for instance, some of the Tsonga type of beaded work also incorporate in them coins. So the question is, why do people then introduce into their traditional attire these kind of modern elements? And this happens in various ways, not just in the sense of the actual materials, but also the different types of things that then become new uses for objects. So the kind of historical element is quite an important one as well, because again, as I said earlier, when you're looking at beadwork, you think only about the beauty of the beadwork and how nice it looks on you, but you don't really think too much about the historical significance of these objects and how they've evolved over time.
That's quite interesting. I've never really thought of our traditional attires like that, and comes to think that if you actually look at the history of traditional attire on the African continent, you can actually tell the different influences and actually be a part of history through the art of those attires, and actually tell what happened during those time and who influenced us during those particular times. So that's quite interesting. We're still speaking to Kwezi Gule, Chief Curator at the Johannesburg Art Gallery. We're going to take a short break and continue speaking about the launch of this new exhibition titled Isisho Nezaga, Sayings and Idioms.
Hi there. Do you want to elevate your business and give it a voice in South Africa and Africa as a whole? Well, in that case, let Channel Africa make this a possibility. Channel Africa is willing to advertise your business for as little as 30,000 rands or $1,719.18. To get access to these great rates, send all requests to mukwenata@SABC. That's MOKOENATA@SABC. Channel Africa, the African perspective. Get set and be ready to go. On the Move with Palesa Tau and Benjamin Moshatamaand.
21 minutes past 9 o'clock Central African time. You're listening to On the Move with myself, Benjamin Moshatamaand and Palesa Tau. Today, we're speaking on this powerful conversation around, when you think about our cultural elements here on the African continent, at times we just resort to thinking of them as just an aesthetic. It has no real deep meaning, and even the meanings themselves of our cultural languages, our artistic preferences, and also our historical cultural definitions, at times we don't really investigate them and we lose their meanings. To actually, pin this together back to life again is this particular Isisho Nezaga exhibition that's taking place at the Johannesburg Art Gallery here in South Africa. Kwezi Gule is joining us, Chief Curator at the Johannesburg Art Gallery. I mean, those meanings are probably very much ones that need that investigation you've been talking about, Kwezi. In terms of putting together something that at times can feel philosophical, at times they can feel more historical, how do you bring that to the present and also solidify it through these objects that you're putting out there? Because I feel like it's an investigation in itself.
Yes, so one of the things that we're planning to do with the exhibition is to include in the display some QR codes, which would then, for instance, be able to give you translations of the sayings that you will be seeing, but also to solicit people to contribute to our own knowledge in terms of, say, for instance, somebody who speaks Sepedi or somebody who speaks Chivenda can say, I recognize this object, even if it's not from my own culture, but in our own culture, we use it like this, or this is the sayings that come from our culture that relate to this object, or something similar. So we are hoping that there will be participation by the people who visit the exhibition.
Did you see that as an interesting feature as well? The fact that we've borrowed each other's items, we've borrowed some practices, and at times there is no one way of actually defining an item, an idiom, or even a meaning.
I think we see. This is why I think our history is so fascinating because, for instance, again, there's a saying in isiZulu which says "Amathanga ahlanzela abangena mapoto," which basically means that opportunities often comes to those who cannot take advantage of them. Now, I remember some time ago I was talking to this about this to my friend who is Shona, and he said, "No, in Shona there is a saying that says exactly the same thing, but obviously in Shona." So for me, what is fascinating then is how is it that these cultures, which are so far apart in terms of distance, and also just in terms of if a person speaks Shona, they will not necessarily be understood by a Zulu speaker and vice versa.
Sure.
But here we are having this saying, which means exactly the same thing. So this is why, for me, the historical element also becomes important because, for me, it's about how we also bridge gaps between cultures that we think are different, but in many instances we find are really quite similar.
Let's talk a little bit about this being housed at the Johannesburg Art Gallery. It's a contested environment. There are conversations around the Johannesburg Art Gallery and its state right now. And the space in itself has a historical relevance. It's right in the hub of our Johannesburg CBD. That area also has a lot of contentions in terms of its social context today. Why do you think that was a relevant space to actually house this exhibition?
Well, you will recall that, there was a time when Black people were not allowed into certain public spaces. And of course, even this collection that we are using, it only entered into the collection of the Johannesburg Art Gallery in the late 1980s. So the cultures of the of South Africa and in fact even other countries surrounding South Africa have been largely excluded from the institution. So part of what we are trying to do is to find new ways of articulating these cultures, but also to try and bring in people who have often felt excluded from these institutions. So as an example, my colleague Bamanye Ngale, he curated an exhibition called Inyathi Ibuzo Kwabaphambili, which basically means that wisdom is learned from those who are older. So the exhibition involves various forms of beadwork from various cultures within Southern Africa, some of it Xhosa, some of it Tsonga, etc., etc. And so what we want to bring in people who know about these traditions and people who are not or often considered scholars in this type of work, in order for them to bring in the knowledge that we as museums don't have. So for us, it's very important to open up the conversation to people who have either been ignored or been discouraged from participating in this kind of discourse. And for us, it's part of the decolonial mission that we have set for ourselves. Because I think it's important for museums and galleries not to feel like these elitist spaces where only certain types of people can go and enjoy themselves, but a space for everyone that they can visit any time of the day and enjoy the offerings that we have in our collection.
Mm-hmm. Well, that's where we leave it. But let us know when the exhibition is happening and how people can be part of this experience.
Okay, so the exhibition will open on the 8th of June at 2 p.m. You can just come in and there will be some speeches, obviously, but also there will be some performances. Then we can also engage with the curators such as myself and the other curators here at the gallery. The entrance is free, so everybody is welcome. 8th of June at 2 p.m.
Well, thank you so much for giving us your time there, Kwezi. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you very much.
That's Kwezi Gule, Chief Curator at the Johannesburg Art Gallery. We actually had his screen live on our live stream. You could see him there joining us there in our live stream. And thanks to Kwezi for that. Thanks as well to those who are watching us on that particular live stream. I see Arnold, Captain Gibiso Piri says is listening from Blantyre, Malawi. Seems like we have Malawi online today. We also have Hans Ambraster, who says, I'm watching live from Monkey Bay in Malawi. Welcome, Malawi, right here on Channel Africa. So join that live stream on our social media platforms, especially our Facebook page, Channel Africa, or you can go to our YouTube page at Channel Africa 1 being the handle. Let's get our sports update now. It's 9:31 Central African time.
Sports on Channel Africa. The African perspective.
And a very good morning from the sports desk. I am Musibu Dimakura with your latest sports news at the SAWA. The 2025 FIFA Arab Cup will have a record prize fund of more than $36.5 million, with Qatar's organizing committee for the regional tournament announcing this on Thursday. The competition, which features senior men's national teams from the 22-member Union of Arab Football Association, also known as UAFA, representing both Asia as well as Africa, will take place from the 1st to the 18th of December this year. Having taken over the organization from UAFA, which initially ran the event, FIFA has been in charge since the tournament's revival back in 2021, when it had also reported a prize fund of $25.5 million. The draw will be held in Doha this coming Sunday, with defending champions Algeria amongst the team that is likely to win this competition. Well, the Real Madrid Foundation is lining up another educational football program, which will be launched at the Taroko campus of the Generations schools later on this month. Now, this will be the third branch of the Spanish Giants' footprint in South Africa, following the opening of the academies at Imhoff as well as Sunningdale campuses, both in the Western Cape province. Now, Generations Schools CEO as well as Real Madrid Foundation SA chairperson Chevron Espteen says they have been inundated with applications after they launched the last two, and had also to expand to give more youngsters a chance of benefiting from the program. So the launch will officially be held on the 28th of this month. CAF's head of TV as well as communications, Luxolo September, has revealed the recruitment of veteran South African administrator Derek Blackensee as part of continuing the growth of the federation. Now, this was revealed at the unveiling of the new CAF Champions League trophy in Johannesburg yesterday, ahead of the first leg of the final between Sundowns as well as Pyramids FC this coming Saturday at Loftus Versfeld Stadium. Now, September previously worked with Blackensee at the Premier Soccer League before heading to CAF. He says the appointment is part of enhancing African football.
We've just hired a South African, Derek Blackensee, to head our professional club football, because we are really serious about this part. We're looking at how we can give it a strong, not only in sentiments, but also ensuring that we are listening across the board to what people are saying. Just the design of the trophy alone took forever for people to decide and discuss about it. Obviously, there's a big discussion about how should interclub football look like in Africa. There is an African Football League, there is a Total Energies CAF Champions League, there is a Total Energies CAF Confederations Cup. How do we look at these products, and how do we ensure that each of them has an identity?
Now, September also put into context why CAF felt the need to create a new trophy ahead of the final in Pretoria and Cairo.
The launch of the trophy is staying with the tradition. The launch of the new Total Energies CAF Champions League trophy is staying with the tradition, but modernizing it, giving it a nice modern look, new look that is more modern, more sophisticated, but also staying true to the tradition of African football. We're very excited about today because it heralds a new era whereby African football, the investment of African football, how it is received globally, is also going to be changing.
And finally, Novak Djokovic celebrated his 38th birthday with a revenge victory over Matteo Arnaldi to reach the Geneva Open semi-finals last night. Now, Djokovic lost to the Italian in April in what was a third straight loss for the Serbian great during a mixed clay court season. However, Djokovic came through a stern test in damp conditions to beat Arnaldi 6-4 and 6-4 and continue his French Open preparations in positive fashion. He will face a semi-final against Cameron Norrie, who staged an impressive fight back to beat Australian Alexei Popyrin 7-6 and 6-4. The Brit is into his first semi-final of the season, and while facing Djokovic as a daunting prospect, he will take heart from his performances so far at this year's competition. It's a wrap from the sports desk at the Sawa. For any sports stories you'd like to share with us, please send us an email to newsroom@channelafrica.co.za or call us on +27 11714 4459. It's 9:36 a.m. Central African Time. I'm back with more sports news in the next hour. For Channel Africa Sport, I am Musibudi Makura.
Sports on Channel Africa. The African perspective. Africa. It's time to plug into the heartbeat of the continent. Tune in to Channel Africa, your go-to radio station that broadcasts in 5 different languages.
L'Afrique du Sud célèbre la journée nationale du
Kabla hujaitwa kwa jina la Double K,
or more of our forests have been destroyed.
Tamo kutuli bwanji ndi
Partido Africano da Independência da Guiné.
See, Channel Africa represents every corner of this amazing land. From Lagos to Cape Town, Nairobi to Dakar, we've got you covered with the freshest news, music, and cultures. So, turn up the volume, feel the rhythm. And join the conversation. Channel Africa, the African perspective.
Thank you so much, Musibudi, for that sports update. Let's get our latest in business with Buntle Headbush.
Business news on Channel Africa, the African perspective.
Thanks, Palesa. Good morning.
Egypt is in talks with energy firms and trading houses to buy 40 to 60 cargoes of liquefied natural gas amid a worsening energy crunch ahead of peak summer demand. Sources say the country faces spending up to $3 billion at current prices to secure the LNG. This puts a squeeze on government coffers already under strain to keep the lights on amid falling gas prices and a cost of living crisis. According to a statement, President Abdel Fattah al-Sisi has directed the government to preemptively take whatever needs necessary to ensure stable electricity flow. Egypt endured rolling blackouts in the past 2 years as natural gas supply fell short of demand. The country's own output in February hit its lowest level in 9 years. South Africa's Automobile Association has strongly criticized government's decision to increase the general fuel levy. Finance Minister Enoch Godongwana announced a 16 South African cents per litre increase for petrol and 15 South African cents per litre for diesel on Wednesday when he tabled the 2025 budget. The fuel levy hike, which is set to take effect next month, comes after a 3-year freeze. The AA has warned that it will exacerbate the cost of living for South Africans. Spokesperson Eleanor Mavimbela.
We do think it could not have come at a worse time because consumers are currently having to battle high food prices, high electricity tariffs, high unemployment and the likes. And fuel is an input cost across all economic sectors. So when fuel goes up, it means transportation costs go up. It means operational costs go up, meaning that it drives up inflation. So consumers across the board, not just motorists, are going to suffer because of the increase in the GFL.
South Africa's Mineral and Petroleum Resources Minister Gwede Mantashe insists that his department is monitoring mining companies. This after the Mining Affected Communities in Action released a report that revealed that 11 mining companies across the country fulfilled less than a quarter of their legally binding social and labour plans. SLPs are plans which show how the mines will contribute to the development of the community around them. Minister Mantashe says the social labour plan is a thorny issue.
Social and labour plan is quite a complex issue because it is dynamic. The first dynamic is that sometimes when you go with SLPs in communities, community leaders want money to go to them in the hand. And our approach to social and labour plans is that don't build small projects, build significant and impactful projects. That's why the majority of mining companies build schools, build clinics, fence fields for food production. So that is actually improving every day and we're monitoring it every day.
Residents and environmentalists in eastern Congo say tropical forests that fell into rebel hands this year have seen a spike in illegal logging to produce charcoal and timber. This has raised fears of large-scale degradation. The Kahuzi-Biega National Park is a UNESCO World Heritage Site west of Bukavu, the second largest city in eastern Congo, which was seized by Rwanda-backed M23 rebels in February. The producers and traders say charcoal prices have plunged as supply has surged. Environmental groups have since appealed in a letter to M23 leaders to stop illegal logging. German investment company Union Investments has cut its stake in Total Energies following fresh allegations of abuse at a $15 billion project in East Africa. The allegations made by non-profit Just Finance International concern the Kingfisher oil site in Uganda, which is part of the East African crude oil pipeline project in which Total Energies has a 62% stake. Sisi Sechalo has more.
Total Energies declared force majeure on its LNG project in Mozambique because of a major raid by Islamist terrorists against the town of Palma. The company says the security situation has now improved, hence it is seeking to have the force majeure lifted. It says it will be up to the government of Mozambique to approve lifting of this force majeure. The Mozambique LNG project, which is budgeted at $20 billion, began with the discovery of over 65 trillion cubic feet of natural gas in the Rovuma Basin.
$1 in Nigeria is trading at 159 naira 35. In Botswana, it's 13 pula 32. Kenya, the dollar is trading at 128 shilling 37. And in Zambia, it's at 27 kwacha 19.
Moving on to the BRICS countries, $1 in Brazil is trading at 5 real 65. Russia is 79 rubles 65. India 85 rupees 87. China 7 yuan 20. And South Africa $1 is trading at 17 rand 98 cents. $1 is trading at 74 pence to the British pound and 88 to the euro. Looking at commodities this morning, gold is trading at $3,330 and platinum at $1,097 per ounce, while the price of Brent crude oil is at $63.99 a barrel. And those are your financial indicators this morning. For Channel Africa Business, I am Buntle Hetbush.
Business News on Channel Africa. The African Perspective.
Você é fluente em português? É apaixonado por rádio e quer trabalhar na África do Sul? Você tem documentos que o qualificam para trabalhar na África do Sul? Nesse caso, podemos ter uma oportunidade para você trabalhar no Canal África. Envie seu currículo e demonstração para Canal África @ newsroom@channelafrica.co.za. Lembre-se, se você não receber alguma resposta nossa em 14 dias, isso significa que você não foi selecionado. Canal África, a perspectiva africana.
Benjamin Moshatamaand Palesa Tau on the move. Living, breathing, ever-evolving masterpiece. And for over 5 decades now, one voice has told it like no other. Channel Africa. More than just a broadcaster, Channel Africa is the pulse of the continent. African-led, African-run, and deeply rooted in its heritage. It's the only international station that speaks to Africa in its own voices: English, Kiswahili, Chinyanja, French, and Portuguese. The languages that unite 1 billion people. We have been there through every shift, every milestone, and every triumph. Not just reporting history, but shaping the conversations that define Africa's future. For brands, media planning, and advertisers, Channel Africa is more than just a platform. It's an opportunity. With 25 compelling shows covering current affairs, sports, business, music, and lifestyle, we deliver an engaging Pan-African audience ready to connect, invest, and act. Multi-award winning, internationally recognized, digitally accessible across the globe. When Africa speaks, the world listens, and Channel Africa makes sure of it. For business, for culture, for Africa, partner with Channel Africa, because Africa's voice is the future. Africa is a story, a living, breathing, ever-evolving masterpiece. And for over 5 decades now, one voice has told it like no other. Channel Africa. More than just a broadcaster, Channel Africa is the pulse of the continent. African-led, African-run, and deeply rooted in its heritage. It's the only international station that speaks to Africa in its own voices: English, Kiswahili, Chinyanja, French, and Portuguese. The languages that unite 1 billion people. We have been there through every shift, every milestone, and every triumph. Not just reporting history, but shaping the conversations that define Africa's future. For brands, media planning, and advertisers, Channel Africa is more than just a platform. It's an opportunity. With 25 compelling shows covering current affairs, sports, business, music, and lifestyle, we deliver an engaging Pan-African audience ready to connect, invest, and act. Multi-award winning, internationally recognized, digitally accessible across the globe. When Africa speaks, the world listens, and Channel Africa makes sure of it. For business, for culture, for Africa, partner with Channel Africa, because Africa's voice is the future. Africa is a story, a living, breathing, ever-evolving masterpiece. And for over 5 decades now, One voice has told it like no other. Channel Africa. More than just a broadcaster, Channel Africa is the pulse of the continent. African-led, African-run, and deeply rooted in its heritage. It's the only international station that speaks to Africa in its own voices. English, Kiswahili, Chinyanja, French, and Portuguese. The languages that unite 1 billion people. We have been there through every shift, every milestone, and every triumph. Not just reporting history, but shaping the conversations that define Africa's future. For brands, media planning, and advertisers, Channel Africa is more than just a platform. It's an opportunity. With 25 compelling shows covering current affairs, sports, business, music, and lifestyle, we deliver an engaging Pan-African audience ready to connect, invest, and act. Multi-award winning, internationally recognized, digitally accessible across the globe. When Africa speaks, the world listens, and Channel Africa makes sure of it. For business, for culture, for Africa, partner with Channel Africa because Africa's voice is the future. Africa is a story. A living, breathing, ever-evolving masterpiece. And for over 5 decades now, one voice has told it like no other. Channel Africa. More than just a broadcaster, Channel Africa is the pulse of the continent. African-led, African-run, and deeply rooted in its heritage. It's the only international station that speaks to Africa in its own voices. English, Kiswahili, Chinyanja, French, and Portuguese. The languages that unite 1 billion people. We have been there through every shift, every milestone, and every triumph. Not just reporting history, but shaping the conversations that define Africa's future. For brands, media planning, and advertisers, Channel Africa is more than just a platform. It's an opportunity. With 25 compelling shows covering current affairs, sports, business, music, and lifestyle, we deliver an engaging Pan-African audience ready to connect, invest, and act. Multi-award winning, internationally recognized, digitally accessible across the globe. When Africa speaks, the world listens, and Channel Africa makes sure of it.
Featuring Russell Zuma, Inganya Band was the name of that particular jam. It is Friday after all, so hey, we're hitting you with some of the good stuff. Some of those that prepare you for the weekend, and certainly we will be doing that. Really interesting conversation there, speaking about, art and language here on the African continent. If you have any famous idioms or proverbs in your language, tell us what they are and what they translate to. Love to hear that. It's 9:51 Central Africa time.
Você é fluente em português? É apaixonado por rádio e quer trabalhar na África do Sul? Você tem documentos que o qualificam para trabalhar na África do Sul? Nesse caso, podemos ter uma oportunidade para você trabalhar no Canal África. Envie seu currículo e demonstração para Canal África newsroom@channelafrica.co.za. Lembre-se, se você não receber alguma resposta nossa em 14 dias, isso significa que você não foi selecionado. Canal África, a perspectiva africana.
9 to 12 midday, Central African Time. On the Move with Palesa Tau and Benjamin Moshatamaand. For business, for culture, for Africa. Partner with Channel Africa because Africa's voice is the future. Africa is a story, a living, breathing, ever-evolving masterpiece. And for over 5 decades now, one voice has told it like no other. Channel Africa. More than just a broadcaster, Channel Africa is the pulse of the continent. African-led, African-run, and deeply rooted in its heritage. It's the only international station that speaks to Africa in its own voices: English, Kiswahili, Chinyanja, French, and Portuguese. The languages that unite 1 billion people. We have been there through every shift, every milestone, and every triumph. Not just reporting history, but shaping the conversations that define Africa's future. For brands, media planning, and advertisers, Channel Africa is more than just a platform. It's an opportunity. With 25 compelling shows covering current affairs, sports, business, music, and lifestyle, we deliver an engaging Pan-African audience ready to connect, invest, and act. Multi-award winning, internationally recognized, digitally accessible across the globe. When Africa speaks, the world listens, and Channel Africa makes sure of it. For business, for culture, for Africa, partner with Channel Africa, because Africa's voice is the future. Africa is a story, a living, breathing, ever-evolving masterpiece. And for over 5 decades now, one voice has told it like no other: Channel Africa. More than just a broadcaster, Channel Africa is the pulse of the continent, African-led, African-run, and deeply rooted in its heritage. It's the only international station that speaks to Africa in its own voices: English, Kiswahili, Chinyanja, French, and Portuguese. The languages that unite 1 billion people. We have been there through every shift, every milestone, and every triumph. Not just reporting history, but shaping the conversations that define Africa's future. For brands, media planning, and advertisers, Channel Africa is more than just a platform. It's an opportunity. With
one of my favorite, this is Thames, Me and You. It's 9:55 Central Africa time, and the first hour is moving quite well, going deeper into the creative world of the African continent. I see you there on our live stream on Facebook. Go there, we are Channel Africa, and we're streaming live throughout the show. Precious Mwale is there watching us on live stream, and she says, watching live from Blantyre. Hello, Precious. It's great to have you with us. Thank you so much for spending your time with us right here on Channel Africa.
Today. Thank you, Blantyre, to listen to Channel Africa.
Thank you, Blantyre. Malawi, stand up. It seems like you guys are really representing today. We absolutely love it. Let us know. We're speaking about, African proverbs and idioms connected with art. That's an exhibition from the Johannesburg Art Gallery that's currently taking place. But we want to find out what your idioms and proverbs are in your languages across the continent and what they mean. What are some of your favorite idioms? One of, not my favorites, but one of the idioms that I really, really don't like is in the South African language, can be translated into different South African languages. Ligotshwa lisemanzi or likobwa lisansan lilemezi. That means that you bend something while it's wet. You bend a rod while it's wet, right? Directly translated, meaning if you get a tree, you have to get like a young stem so you can be able to bend it, because once it gets hard, it won't be malleable anymore. It won't be bendable. But it's usually used to say you have to correct children while they are young. So while they're still young and bendable, that's when you have to bend them. Before they become sort of older and hardened, then you won't be able to correct them anymore. But usually it's always said when you're supposed to be like spanked. When children are supposed to be spanked, they say, "Ligotshwa lisasemanzi," meaning, hey, I'm going to discipline you now while you're young so you can learn your lesson, because it's going to be too late while you're old and I won't be able to discipline you anymore.
Very convenient one.
I don't like it. I don't like it.
Yeah. I don't really have ones. I'm very terrible at idioms.
Yeah. You know what? I think I know just some of the most famous ones, but I'm sure there are so many. And sometimes you only remember when it's like, put something out in the middle of conversation, when something is happening that is really related to that. And that's the thing. We have like a wealth of archives of languages in us. Also because on the African continent, we don't just speak one language. In any country on the African continent, you'll hardly ever hear just one language. There's so many languages and they all have their own unique idioms, but they sometimes can be translated within the different languages. But it's only in context when you remember which is the right idiom to use.
Are there interesting ones that you think are more contemporary, maybe from a slang context?
I'll have to think about it. While I do, let's go to some music. I'll think about some of the ones that maybe are more contemporary, because what I really loved about the conversation, he spoke about, well, don't forget that culture also evolves. So the idioms that we know in the past, there are idioms that will develop from the current era that we're in. So they're always changing. Mm-hmm. And what we call slang today will probably be cultural and traditional in the future, and not just slang, because it's going to be an integral part of the culture and the evolution of our cultures and our languages as well. So that's quite interesting. At Channel Africa 1, enjoy the conversations with us and have your say. Thank you so much for joining our live streams. Let's make the Channel Africa circle bigger.
Download the SABC app and take Channel Africa with you everywhere you go. Telling shows covering current affairs, sports, business, music, and lifestyle. We deliver an engaging Pan-African audience ready to connect, invest, and act. Multi-award winning, internationally recognized, digitally accessible across the globe. When Africa speaks, the world listens, and Channel Africa makes sure of it. For business, for culture, for Africa. Partner with Channel Africa, because Africa's voice is the future. Africa is a story, a living, breathing, ever-evolving masterpiece. And for over 5 decades now, one voice has told it like no other. Channel Africa. More than just a broadcaster, Channel Africa is the pulse of the continent.
And yeah, this one is titled One Side. It's almost the top of the hour. Let's get into the second hour of the show. Onele Nzinzi has our latest news.
SABC News. The African Perspective.
Thank you, Palesa. Looking at your top stories, 2 found guilty of aiding a 2019 Kenya Nairobi hotel attack, and Trump administration revokes Harvard's authorization to enroll international students. Your latest news. Greetings to our listeners. A Kenyan court has found 2 people guilty of aiding a 2019 attack by Al-Qaeda-linked militants on a hotel and office complex in the capital that killed 21 people. In January 2019, gunmen shot their way into Nairobi's Dusit Hotel and office complex, killing 21 people in a siege that lasted more than 12 hours. At the time, the government said it had killed all the attackers, who were Somali and members of the Al-Shabaab group, which claimed responsibility for the attack. The United States is set to impose sanctions on Sudan after determining its government used chemical weapons in 2024 during the army's conflict with the paramilitary Rapid Support Forces. Measures against Sudan will include limits on U.S. exports and U.S. government lines of credit and will take effect around the 6th of June. Sudan's foreign ministry has not issued any comment. The war in Sudan erupted in April 2023 from a power struggle between the army and the RSF, unleashing waves of ethnic violence, creating the world's worst humanitarian crisis and plunging several areas into famine. Senators in the Democratic Republic of Congo have approved a government request that former President Joseph Kabila be stripped of his parliamentary immunity and charged with treason. Kinshasa accused the DRC former leader of supporting the M23 rebels. The BBC's Damashin Debussy.
Kabila has lost the honorary lifetime senatorial immunity he had been granted in 2019 when he left office, paving the way for him to stand trial. But his current whereabouts are unconfirmed. Mr. Kabila has previously denied links to the rebels. If Mr. Kabila stands trial, he will become the first former head of state in the DRC to face treason charges. But analysts warn a trial could destabilize the country. The government has not yet confirmed when a formal indictment or trial could take place.
South Africa's Police Minister, Senzo Mchunu, is today expected to release the fourth quarter crime statistics. Mchunu, together with the National Police Commissioner, General Fani Masamula, will present the quarterly crime statistics reflecting on crimes that occurred during the fourth quarter of the previous financial year. That's the period from the 1st of January 2025 to the 31st of March 2025. In the third quarter crime statistics released in February, Mchunu revealed a decline across multiple crime categories, which include murder, rape, and attempted sexual offences. And lastly, the Trump administration has revoked Harvard's authorization to enroll international students in an escalation of its row with the university. U.S. Homeland Security Secretary Kristi Noem said the government is holding Harvard accountable for fostering violence and anti-Semitism. The university has described the move as unlawful. President of the Harvard Australia and New Zealand Student Society, Sarah Davis, is due to graduate in 5 days' time.
It's obviously an incredibly stressful time for Australian and Kiwi international students, but also for all international students. The news has come only about 5 days before a lot of us are due to graduate the university, and this obviously is going to have a lot of very uncertain implications for whether or not we're able to stay on in the United States afterwards and keep working here.
Now recapping on your top stories, a Kenyan court has found 2 people guilty of aiding a 2019 attack by Al-Qaeda-linked militants on a hotel and office complex in the capital that killed 21 people. In January 2019, gunmen shot their way into Nairobi's Dusit Hotel and office complex, killing 21 people in a siege that lasted more than 12 hours. Now, for any news stories you would like to share with us, please send us an email to newsroom@channelafrica.co.za or call us at +27 11714 4459. Channel Africa News, I am Onele Ntsinti.
SABC News. The African Perspective.
5 minutes past 10 o'clock Central African time. We are just in our second hour of the show, and it's great to have you there. Remember, our live streams are there, so if you want to check out our guests online, we always have a video of them there, so they come out live for us. It's almost like a Zoom kind of image that we have on our live stream. So do check it out on our social media platforms. And all you have to do is go to our YouTube page at Channel Africa 1, being that handle, or you can just search Channel Africa on YouTube and subscribe on that. I always forget to tell you to subscribe. Just do subscribe as also on our Channel Africa page. It's always cool to actually know what's happening and to get those alerts when something is happening on our YouTube page. But hey, man, you know how I was exposed to art. I'm a big art lover. But one of the things that is really unregulated, and at times it's really very accessible, if you're talking about art that's accessible and there's no boundaries to its access, is definitely street art. And most of the time, like street art, like graffiti, is seen as a nuisance, and it's like, no man, these guys are messing up our landscape. They're actually messing up our city. But some of it is very vital in terms of actually exhibiting certain narratives in our cities, especially in the urban context. But it's become more mainstream, this graffiti idea. It's become something that we now call murals, and those bold graffitis have become actually curated by many cities on the African continent, from Lagos to Johannesburg. So we're going to be speaking about African street art. It's becoming something that's more visual. It actually also speaks on behalf behalf of society, but also it's a way of us as Africans reclaiming the space in our changing cities. So looking forward to that conversation that's coming up very, very soon.
There's actually a beautiful piece of street art not so far from here in Johannesburg that people have been noticing recently. So when you come out from the highway, usually from like the western side of Johannesburg, driving through the CBD, the Newtown area, there's a bridge, and on the right side of the bridge, there's this beautiful mural of Miriam Makeba that is there. It's an incredible piece of street art, and it really just brightens up a very like dark, dingy, sort of brown space and environment as you drive past that highway, and it is incredible. So street art is definitely making waves all across the African continent. And then we'll be wrapping up in the next hour of the show with a musician talking about her footprint across the African continent. She goes by the name of Thandiswa Mazwai, also known as King Ta, and the king herself will be joining us on our live stream to chat all things music and art. So can't wait, looking forward to that. Don't forget, if you want to join us, the live stream is a really great way to do that. We have a lot of Malawi joining us on that live stream today. Hello to you. But you can also be part of those who are joining us across the world. Simply join our live stream, comment there and let us know where you tuned in from. But also, let's encourage you to participate in the conversations of the day and make the Channel Africa circle bigger. We are Channel Africa on Facebook and on the rest of our social media platforms, on X at Channel Africa 1, as well as on Instagram, TikTok and YouTube. Also live on Instagram and YouTube as well. But also, if you want your voice to be heard, you can do that by sending us a WhatsApp voice note, a text, or even giving us a call on +27 63 406 9126.
Africa in Song with Chanduko Ligege.
This song has a line that I love so much in the isiXhosa language. It says, "Andinayo nesentem daga." So I went down to the Eastern Cape. So I went to Yanga and said, "Yanga, tell me here, what does andinayo nesentem daga mean?"
If I say andinayo nesentem daga, it means that I do not have any money. I do not have money to give to you.
Interesting, because in Chivenda I would just say "Atinana peni ndo charungwe." I wonder if you have that expression in your home language when you want to say you're broke, but in a very creative way. What do you say? I'd like to hear from you.
Africa in Song with Chanduko Ligege. Are you fluent in French, Chinyanja, Portuguese, and Kiswahili? Are you passionate about radio? And are you looking to work in South Africa? Do you have papers that qualify you to work in South Africa? In that case, we might have an opportunity for you to work for Channel Africa. Send us your CV and demo at newsroom@channelafrica.co.za. Remember, if you don't hear from us within 14 days, it means you have not made it or you have not been selected. Channel Africa, the African perspective. Benjamin Moshatamaand Palesa Tau on the move.
Hey, when you think about art, some of the best contemporary artists right now actually started in the streets through graffiti work, and the street art is such a prevalent thing, not just from a South African or African context, but also from an international perspective. When you think about those who are outliers or those who are in the outsides of the very snobbish mainstream art world, they actually started in the streets. When you think about Jean-Michel Basquiat, when you think about Banksy, when you think about Keith Haring, all of those are artists that really started outside in the streets and doing some interesting work there. In fact, even right now, street arts is something that is prevalent in the international dynamic. There is a very interesting statue right now that is standing in the middle of New York, which is a 12-foot tall bronze statue in in New York, Times Square, and it's of a normal girl just standing there. She just has plaited hair. She's a black woman. She's a little bit plus size-ish. She's a little bit sexy for me. I like her. And she stands there, and people are like, what is the statue? What does it mean? And the fact that she's black has actually made many questions around why that particular big statue of an ordinary black woman is standing in the middle of New York. So that's from an international perspective. We know even from an African context that street art does play a huge role, from colorful murals of Nairobi to the bold graffiti of Lagos and the powerful stencils in Johannesburg. African street art is more than visual flair. It's a voice for the voiceless, a mirror of society, and a way also to reclaim space in rapid changing cities. We delve into its historical background, the role it plays in urban transformation, and how it empowers communities. We're joined by Dibongs Mahlati, who is an award-winning street artist from the west of Johannesburg. Dibongs, thank you for joining us here on Channel Africa.
Thank you so much for having me. It's good to be here.
Cool, man. Let's talk a little bit about how you got into street art. What was the appeal for you? Because sometimes people go into that conventional art that is actually more kind of, academic, and that really is based on the gallery standard of art. How did you get into this very unique form of artistry?
I'd say at first it was for myself to experience a sense of freedom, because as you'd know, in the township, art was not something that's really celebrated, especially by our elders, because of the lack of understanding or education into it. So what I saw as a getaway was for me to go out and paint walls, because it was something that cannot be hidden, and it got me out of my shell as well. Growing up, not having much confidence, it brought so much confidence in me and esteem, and it helped to get me to be seen, and I felt seen. But once I got into it and I was more settled now, I saw that it was just not for myself, but for the inner kid in me, which is every other kid from the township. So I wanted to paint like messages of hope and faith, and knowing that fear is nothing to our mentalities as long as we know who we are. So I really just wanted to portray that message, and that's what really got me into it. Firstly, to get out of my shell, and secondly, to educate the elders into art and inspire young kids to also want to do it, while at the same time making communities to look beautiful and attractive.
Mm-hmm. Man, I'm looking at some of the work that you've done, and some of them are some of my favorite graffiti pieces in different parts of Johannesburg, right? But, from the starting and developing the scribbles to actually now becoming someone who's actually developing their skill in a way that looks like a painting on a wall. Let's talk a little bit about that development. How do you guys start scribbling with kind of spray cans and develop something that becomes like a real canvas on a wall? How's that process? I'm always fascinated by it, because it is something that you start and it's self-taught, but over time it seems like street artists have a way of harnessing their skill.
The thing about street art is like no two walls are the same. So the more you create, the more you grow, the more you get ideas. So even with the scribbles, it's like a more creative type of grid, a grid system, which the academic one would be like using blocks. But the more the creativity goes, we start developing different processes to make our work easier, especially when it becomes more large scale. So that's the beauty about street art, that it's not like any other art where it's created in the bedroom and you just get to see the final product, but you get to see the whole process into it, like how it's created from a technique point of view, and also the emotions that go behind creating the work, and the soul that gets poured into creating the work. So it's more interactive in that way, that even the community, they get to experience it. So that's why I say it's like also a way to teach the elders and kids and people from all walks of life, because they get to be immersed into how it starts and actually how it ends up, which it's pretty much like the journey of life,
That's wonderful.
Just enjoying the process.
And do the tools change over time? I'm interested in getting to know that, because is it just all the time you're going to use the same tools like spray paint, or do you start now utilizing more tools the bigger your projects become, or the more you start handling your craft with more detail?
I think it's the most beautiful thing was how you made reference to the bronze statue in New York, because that is street art, and it's not just about using one tool, which is a spray can. So I use brushes, I paint on canvas. I'm into landscaping as well, and that's all a form of street art, where it's about the complete production of it. So it's not just limited to using one, like just a paintbrush. It's spray can, paintbrush, it's endless sprayers, it's just anything, applying your body into it. So even sculptures, that's street art as well. So it's just so multifaceted, and a lot of people can get into it with whatever it is that they're gifted with, especially the artists.
And people think it's like those things happen incidentally when you see like a beautiful mural in your city. I'm like looking at your wonderful one on one of my favorite musicians who passed away many years ago, Jonas Ngwangwa. It's such a beautiful image, and I know there's kind of a sequence of different South African artists in that particular part of the CBD highway, and it's a wonderful series. And some people think, I know these things are just popping up, but actually it's become an enterprise in itself. Graffiti work is actually a commercial form of work.
Absolutely. A lot of thought goes into it. A lot of creativity goes into it. A lot of time gets given upon it. It's really about good organization. Like even that part of Newtown, it's not just us going and randomly painting our fallen pioneers of jazz, but it's because of what that part of the city gave to the overall outlook of the city, how jazz was created just in those streets, so I wanted to bring back what was forgotten and what was lost with regards to people knowing their history and really appreciating it, knowing their music and loving, appreciating the life stories of even the artists and understanding what it is that goes behind the art, so picking that the Jonas Gwangwa, Mamsbongile Khumalo, Mambusi Mhlongo, and the great Kipi Mweketsi. It was really to speak on the history of South African jazz and to celebrate them, and to get people to want to know more about where they're from and know why they're doing what they're doing and understanding what their gifts are.
Okay, Dibong, stay there on the line. We are so fascinated by your work, and at times it's like you see that signature Dibongs everywhere in the city of Johannesburg. You're like, who's this guy? I wonder where it is. You've got like that Banksy character, But we'll talk a little bit about that. There are also anonymous elements that are associated, being that mystery artist. I think that's also part of the beauty of the craft itself. That I've seen that with street artists. They also take pride in not just being out there all the time, but you like the mystery of being the artist. And maybe you stand next to your mural sometimes and you'll hear conversations around what people are saying about your mural, and you won't say, actually, I'm the artist, but I'm sure you love the conversations around that particular art. We'll have more conversation about street art, its significance in our cities. What does it do in terms of us reclaiming the narratives of our urban spaces? We'll be back after our break.
Hey guys, question. Have you thought about what happens between 9 o'clock until midday, Saturday and Sunday? Well, it's me. Those that know me call me the fun police, and I'm that girl, that voice on your radio. My name is Pule Mulebati. I'm all about the finer things in life. Where to go, what to wear, who to see, and ultimately what to do. We aspire to bring you the best in travel, entertainment, with a dash or maybe a dose of laughter. And then, of course, we switch things up a bit when we look at technology. I love what's happening with AI because you blink, something new pops up. So the challenge is constantly there. I'm learning every single time on the show. So catch me every single Saturday and Sunday at 9 a.m. until 12 midday Central African Time, Baba.
Benjamin Moshatamaand Palesa Tau on the move.
Street art, what was once seen as a nuisance by rebellious little rascals all across the city, has become this incredible medium to showcase art, to become part of urban transformation, but also to make art accessible to all. We're speaking to Dibongs Mahlati, an award-winning street artist from the west of Johannesburg, chatting to us about what the medium of street art actually gives to the people, and of course, what it lends itself to as himself, the artist as well. You know, Dibongs, you spoke about the significance of street art being in the process, right? And the process itself is enjoyed by the community who are able to actually see it from its inception until the end product. Do you think that really increases the connection between the art and the community?
Absolutely, because they get to appreciate it more, knowing how it was created and that they were, in a way, part of the process. Because when you're painting in public, there's a lot that goes into it. There's preparing the wall, there's making sure that there's an element of safety, and that's all on the engaging with the community. You know, making sure that you're in a safe environment and you are actually speaking their story so that they can relate so much more to it. So there's research that goes when you go to different communities, want to understand their way of life, want to understand the problems that they are tackling within the community. So that we actually, it's not just about it, you looking beautiful, but we actually tackle also the negative side and making it a form of positive.
You know, you could put your art pretty much anywhere. You can use any canvas you want. It doesn't have to be street art, but there's a really a big majestic thing about street art because the canvases can be so large. People look at this mural and they think, how did you even get up there? How do you put something like this together? I mentioned in my intro to say, you know, this is a medium of art that was once used by, you know, rebellious little rascals. Do you think there's still a form of rebellion in street art?
Not as much, but it still does speak on the thoughts of the people, because it started as protest art, which was fighting against a particular cause and fighting for the good of the community. And even now, you still see a lot of street art pieces that actually speak on what's happening in the world. You know, the genocides, the wars, famine, and all of that's happening in the world. So different artists do speak on different needs of the world. I speak on the world at large, and others speak on the needs of the human mind.
Let's speak a little bit about how street art lends itself to urban transformation. I mean, you know, your murals can be seen in lots of parts of the Johannesburg CBD, a place that is now known to be dark, to be dingy, to be dirty, to be brown, to not be associated with any kind of beauty. But it is in those spaces where a piece of beauty just sort of jumps up at you. Is that part of urban transformation? And do you think that it's a way to transform a space to be seen a lot differently than it is perceived to be?
Absolutely. And there's a clear example in how Maboneng became, you know, because it was a very dingy part of town. But once they started introducing international street artists, local street artists, engaging a lot of artists, even on the streets who are selling handmade products, it really just brought a sense of belonging. It created a sense of community. You know, so I do believe that in the overall landscape of any city, street art plays a very crucial role, and that's why even some leading cities in the world, you go to Miami or Berlin, you find a lot of street art because they understand what the impact is of it. So if only we were to get also stakeholders who really are enthusiastic and really have an understanding of the impact of art in its entirety, they'd appreciate it more, and they'd really invest into it to make sure that communities look the best way they actually should be.
I mean, that's interesting for me. I mean, how do you professionalize something like graffiti work or mural work? I mean, how did you turn yourself into a professional in this? Because I'm sure you work with many agencies. I'm sure you work with advertisers and you collaborate. I see you also do stuff continentally. I saw you were sometime back in Nairobi, Kenya, and there were collaborations happening continentally. How do you actually professionalize this thing? Because one would never have thought that many years ago that graffiti would become actually a job.
It was me treating myself seriously and taking myself like a business, getting myself registered, making sure that all my paperwork is of a legit business. Like as an artist, there's the art side of it, being creative, but there's actually a business side of it where all your paperwork needs to be aligned. And once you treat yourself like that on social media, treating yourself like a business and posting your work consistently, so showing your growth, sharing your story, just getting people to understand the overall background of what goes on behind the art. I think that's really what got people interested, clients interested, different brands locally and abroad to really want to be associated with street art. So I think it's really that, being an everyday artist, both in theory and practicing it, you know. There's nothing that beats that. Just being present and active and making sure that your art works and provides everything that you need.
Debongs, is there something, such as a dream mural for you? Does it exist? What would that dream mural be?
It's definitely painting other cities in the world, because with that it comes with growth, and I appreciate getting to travel because I go to different countries, learn a new skill. When I come back, share it with the young ones as well. So it's just really about growing and sharing the information when I come back, so it's definitely painting more internationally, and just getting our story and our realness out there, undiluted and as real as it is.
I love that. Thank you so much for hanging out with us. It is an incredible one, unpacking the world of street art. And of course, you as an award-winning artist really showcasing the beauty of street art all across the world. Where can we go to find you and enjoy your spaces and your art?
Social media, catch me on Instagram, debongs_1, TikTok, debongs_1, Facebook, debongs_1. And I'm working on my website as well. It's still under construction, debongs.com. So if you want me, you can just catch me on there and engage more. And look out for my upcoming work as well.
Love that. Thank you so much for your time. That is Debongs Mahlati, award-winning street artist, speaking about some of the history behind street art and the role it plays in urban transformation. It's 10:30 Central Africa time. Musibudi Makura is back with our latest sports.
Sports on Channel Africa. The African Perspective.
Thank you, Palesa. We'll start here. Mamelodi Sundowns defender Musa Libusa this week downplayed his notable contribution to the team ahead of the CAF Champions League final. The 32-year-old is finishing off a season strong with regular game time, having initially appeared as a French player under coach Miguel Cardoso until teammate Lucas Suarez came under a lot of criticism recently. Libusa started both semi-final legs against Al Ahly and also proved his worth in Cardoso's eyes, but the player was modest when he won was asked about the fact that he's playing now regularly as opposed to before.
I think everyone is very important in the team. On my side, I just think, like you said, I haven't been playing, and what I did was just to support everyone that's been playing and make sure that when my time comes, I grab it with both hands. And also, the coaching staff, they believed in me, and they always told me that I'm very important to the team, and that it showed when they put me in the semis.
Now, Lebusa is also hoping Sundowns will take full advantage of playing the first leg of the CAF Champions League at home, as they will not be underestimating Pyramids FC in their own backyard next week in Cairo.
We mainly focus on ourselves. Yeah, we did get a chance to watch that game, and I think it's no chance that they got where they are, and it's really going to be difficult. But we have a very strong technical team that has been analyzing them, and also on our side as players, we've been analyzing them, see where we can capitalize on them, and as well as not neglecting us, how we got to where we are, and trying to work hard to make sure.
Right, so Mamelodi Sundowns will face off with Pyramids FC tomorrow afternoon. Kick-off at Loftus Versfeld in the country's capital city is at 3 p.m. Central African time. It's the first leg of the final between these two sides. Sundowns, of course, are champions from 2016, looking for a second star. Pyramids FC, by the way, an Egyptian giant, an Egyptian side, making its first ever appearance in a CAF Champions League final. Onto the story now. The 2025 FIFA Arab Cup will have a record prize fund of more than $36.5 million, with the Qatar local organising committee for the regional tournament announcing the news on Thursday. The competition, which also features senior national men's teams from the 22 member Union of Arab Football Associations, also known as the UAFA, representing both Asia as well as Africa, will take place from the 1st until the 18th of December. Having taken over the organisation from UAFA, which initially ran the event, FIFA has been in charge since the tournament's revival in 2021, when it had also reported the prize fund at that time as $25.5 million. Meanwhile, the draw will be held in Doha this coming Sunday, with defending champions Algeria amongst the favourites. Back home now, the Real Madrid Foundation is lining up another educational football program, which will be launched at the Tarraco campus of the Generation School later on this month. It will be the third branch of the Spanish Giants' footprint in South Africa, following the opening of their academies at Imhoff as well as Sunningdale campuses, both in South Africa's Western Cape province. Now, Generation School's CEO as well as Real Madrid Foundation SA chairperson Jevron Espin says they have been inundated with applications after they launched the first two and also had to expand to give more youngsters a chance of benefiting for the program. The launch will officially be held on the 28th of this month. And finally, Novak Djokovic celebrated his 38th birthday with a revenge victory over Matteo Arnaldi to reach the Geneva Open semi-finals. Djokovic lost to the Italian in April in what was a third straight loss to the Serbian, grade during a mixed clay court season. However, Djokovic came through a stern test in damp conditions to beat Arnaldi 6-4 and 6-4 and also continue his French Open preparations in positive fashion. He will face a semi-final against Cameron Norrie of Great Britain, who staged an impressive fight back to beat Australian Alexei Popyrin 7-6 and 6-4. The Brit is into his first semi-final of the season and will be facing Djokovic. Might be a daunting prospect for the youngster. He will actually take heart from his previous performances in this year's competition. And that's a wrap from the sports desk at this hour. I'm back with the final sports update for the morning in the next hour. For any sports stories you'd like to share with us, our email address is newsroom@channelafrica.co.za or call us on +27 11714 4459. For Channel Africa Sport, I am Musibudi Makura.
Sports on Channel Africa. The African perspective. Celebrate unity, progress, and pride with Channel Africa, this Africa Month.
Nowhere be like Africa. Nowhere be like home. Africa,
Listen in on SABC Plus, DSTV Audio Bouquet 802, and Satellite Channel PAS 10. Benjamin Moshatamaand Palesa Tau on the move.
Let's keep things moving with our latest in business with Buntle Headbush.
Business news on Channel Africa. The African perspective.
Thanks, Palesa. Good morning. Egypt is in talks with energy firms and trading houses to buy 40 to 60 cargoes of liquefied natural gas amid a worsening energy crunch ahead of peak summer demand. Sources say the country faces spending up to $3 billion at current prices to secure the LNG. This puts a squeeze on government coffers already under strain to keep the lights on amid falling gas production and a cost of living crisis. According to a statement, President Abdel Fattah al-Sisi has directed the government to preemptively take whatever needs necessary to ensure stable electricity flow. Egypt endured rolling blackouts in the past 2 years as natural gas supply fell short of demand. The country's own gas output in February hit its lowest level in 9 years. South Africa's Automobile Association has strongly criticized government's decision to increase the general fuel levy. Finance Minister Enoch Godongwana announced a 16 South African cents per litre increase for petrol and a 15 South African cents per litre for diesel on Wednesday when he tabled the 2025 budget. The fuel levy hike, which is set to take effect next month, comes after a 3-year freeze. The AA has warned that it will exacerbate the cost of living for South Africans. Spokesperson Eleanor Mavimbela.
We do think it could not have come at a worse time because consumers are currently having to battle high food prices, high electricity tariffs, high unemployment and the likes. And fuel is an input cost across all economic sectors. So when fuel goes up, it means transportation costs go up. It means operational costs go up, meaning that it drives up inflation. So consumers across the board, not just motorists, are going to suffer because of the increase in the GFL.
South Africa's Mineral and Petroleum Resources Minister Gwede Mantashe insists that his department is monitoring mining companies. This after the Mining Affected Communities in Action released a report that revealed that 11 mining companies across the country fulfilled less than a quarter of their legally binding social and labour plans. SLPs are plans which show how mines will contribute to the development of the communities around them. Minister Mantashe says the social labour plan is a thorny issue.
Social and labor plan is quite a complex issue because it is dynamic. The first dynamic is that sometimes when you go with SLPs in communities, community leaders want money to go to them in the hand. And our approach to social and labor plans is that don't build small projects, build significant and impactful projects. That's why the majority of mining companies build schools, build clinics, fence fields for food production. So that is actually improving every day and we're monitoring it every day.
German investment company Union Investments has cut its stake in Total Energies following fresh allegations of abuse at a $15 billion project in East Africa. The allegations made by non-profit Just Finance International concern the Kingfisher oil site in Uganda, which is part of the East Africa crude oil pipeline project, in which Total Energies has a 62% stake. Sisi Sahalo has more.
A report released in May by Just Finance International says it found evidence of alleged forced evictions, violence against women, beatings and extortion by Ugandan security forces at the Kingfisher oil site in late 2024. The report was based on interviews with more than 40 people living and working in the area over the past few years. Total Energies has denied the allegations.
A Malian court has postponed for the second time a hearing on whether to place Barrick Mining's Lulu Gungoto mine under provisional administration to restart operations. The presiding judge, Mahamudu Tipo Keita, says the state requested an adjournment until the 2nd of June. Mali's government has meanwhile asked the local court to appoint a provisional administrator to take over Barrick's mine, which it suspended in January over the alleged non-payment of taxes. Barrick has denied the allegations. Moving on to the financial markets this morning, $1 in Nigeria is trading at 159 naira 35. In Botswana, it's at 13 pula 32. Kenya, the dollar is at 128 shilling 37. And in Zambia, it's at 27 kwacha 19. The BRICS countries, $1 in Brazil is trading at 5 rial 65. In Russia, it's at 79 rubles 65. India, 85 rupees 87. China, 71.20, and South Africa, $1 is trading at 17 rand 98 cents. $1 is trading at 74 pence to the British pound and 88 to the euro. Taking a look at the commodities now, gold is trading at $3,330 and platinum at $1,097 per ounce, while the price of Brent crude oil is at $63.99 a barrel. And those are your business news. For any business stories you'd like to share with us, please send an email to newsroom@channelafrica.co.za or call us on +27 11 714 4459. For Channel Africa Business, I'm Buntle Hetbush.
Business News on Channel Africa. The African Perspective. In this episode of Channel Africa Conversations, Peter talks to Dr. Thulisile Buddha, an academic, author, and an expert in indigenous knowledge systems. Join us for a compelling discussion on preserving African languages and traditions in the digital era. Dr. Thulisile unpacks the role of educators, explorers, and how technologies like AI can support cultural preservation, and challenges us to rethink how we honor African heritage. You can find the episode on YouTube, SABC Plus, and on our website, channelafrica.co.za. This episode is a must-listen for educators, creators, and change makers across the continent. Channel Africa, the African Perspective. Benjamin Moshatamaand Palesa Tau on the move. And the voices that shape the day. At mid-morning, we get on the move with Palesa and Benjamin, digging into the African lifestyle, people, and the things that make Africa smile. 12 till 1, Africa Update with
بقيتها واجي لفتن فتن هالكوين فتن فتن ودمت لمدرس همامي بنتج بيهون ميفوز
Benjamin Moshatamaand Palesa Tau on the move.
She come from Sarah, Mr. Jackade. Help me quick, that girl stop for that. Where she dance for well. I'm living my best life. Nobody can tell me up. I want to live my life. Making nobody tell me up. Came coming on my way. I used to buy my loud for 2K. The many days where we say Rabba no day. Me the back base, I can't do me shake shit. You know the vibes stay sharp like every day. You know the bad vibes more like a souffle. Get a perfect picture like a beat, like a dope. No be a dope. It be real life, you sabi say. As I'm follow me wine. I be manager, could you echo? Me I be parent child. 10,000 on the street like I'm living my best life. Nobody can tell me up. I want to live my life. Making nobody tell me up.
It's an easy Friday with the music of the African continent. Great double play. Hallelujah Tenkla Dig by Yeleba gave us that one in before this one. And this one in the background is Buju featuring One Day Call Kenkele. It's 10:50 Central Africa time, chatting about street art and its evolution. But we'll chat a little bit more about that after this break.
12 till 1, Africa Update with Lulu Kabu. Getting Africa. It's time to plug into the heartbeat of the continent. Tune in to Channel Africa, your go-to radio station that broadcasts in 5 different languages.
L'Afrique du Sud célèbre la
Kabla hujaitwa kwa jina la Double K
or more of our forests have been destroyed.
Estamos con el Partido Africano da Independência da Guiné.
See, Channel Africa represents every corner of this amazing land. From Lagos to Cape Town, Nairobi to Dakar, we've got you covered with the freshest news, music, and cultures. So, turn up the volume, feel the rhythm. And Join the conversation. Channel Africa, the African perspective. Benjamin Moshatamaand Palesa Tau on the move.
Calm down. Yo, this your body, it puts in my heart for lockdown, oh lockdown. Yo, you sweet life, phantom. If I tell you say I love you, you know they for me, young girl, oh young girl. No, tell me no, oh, baby, come give me your lo. You got me like whoa. Gon' give me your lo. I see this fine girl from my party, she wear yellow. Every other girl they do too much, but this girl mellow. Now in my fine situation, I go use they tell I'm mellow. Finally I find way to talk to the girl, but she ain't no one follow. When you gonna phone for one? When you know I call for one? Then I start to feel a bum. She dey give me small one. I know, say she sabi pass it down one. But she feeling insecure, cause her friends go they go my light ring go on.
Yeah, I know we look shy, but for you I get down low. And my hips make you cry when I'm moving around you. Do it once, do it twice. I push back, you hold me tight. Get a taste for a night. Baby, show me you can calm down. Dance with me and take the lead now. Got you so high that you can't calm down. Don't you ask, you know you're allowed. When it's you, I can't say no. Baby, give me low. You got me like Shawty gon' give me a lo.
As I reach my house, I see me got a small wall. As me I wake up, now she did my mind don't walk. Day one, day two, one of you folk go us. Now so me I go down, say me we link go walk.
Got my hand on your heart now, I can feel it race. If I leave, then you say you can never love again. Wanna give you it all, but can't promise that I'll stay. And that's a risk you take.
Baby, calm down. Your body, it puts in my heart for lockdown, oh lockdown. Yo, you sweet life, phantom. If I tell you say I love you, you know they for me, young girl, oh young girl. No, tell me no, oh. Baby, come give me your lo. You got me like whoa. Shawty gon' give me your lo.
Calm Down. It's the remix with Rema featuring Selena Gomez. Great music from the continent right here on Channel Africa. Well, we're speaking about street art, and I was thinking, street art has always started out quite informally, right? And we're seeing the likes of Dubongs Matlati, who we just spoke to, who's become award-winning and has become these incredible pieces of art.
Yeah.
But what if we thought about like everyday things that happen in our communities that it could actually transform into street art? You know what one I'm thinking about in particular? Because it's also something that is seen as like a little kid rascal rebellious act that children do in the communities that I think could actually turn out to be a fantastic piece of street art. So when a car has been sitting in one place for a very long time, it's usually the cars that don't work in our communities, and they gather
I see where
dust.
you're going with this one.
And and the cars start gathering dust, right?
Yeah.
And then the naughty kids come to the car, usually in the back window, and then they scribble on the dust and say,
Wash me.
please wash me.
No, please. There's no please.
Okay, yeah, and they say wash me, right? And that can be quite annoying, obviously, to the owner, because obviously your car is gathering dust and the kids, turn it into a fun thing. But imagine if someone had the creativity to use that dust to not just write wash me, where you can still write wash me, but actually create a beautiful mural with the dust and the car and take a picture. I think it would be incredible, like a mural all over a dusty car. It wouldn't last a lifetime, of course, but it would actually be really pretty to look at.
I love when you dream, like when you're dreaming on air.
It's amazing, though. And that would definitely be street art, wouldn't it?
I don't know. I don't know if it's feasible.
You are using something.
Doable even?
I think it is. I think it is doable, because I've seen things like salt art on social media, where people just sprinkle like salt on a plain surface and then turn it into like a beautiful piece of art and then blow it away afterwards. It would exactly be like that, because salt is just like dust, right? And there's dust on this car where you turn it into, like, imagine beautiful Ndebele prints on the car using dust, nothing but dust and your fingers, to create this beautiful piece that you enjoy just for that moment until hopefully the owner washes that car.
And develop art with no color.
With no color, just print.
Okay.
But it would be incredible. I think it would be a beautiful piece of street art.
Pitch it to someone. Let's see how far it
I
goes.
should really. But I mean, that's
Start
how
the
street
project.
art starts, right?
Yeah.
It starts as something that's just like silly. There's what children. I know when I used to be in high school, everywhere where I walked, there used to be just like this name that was everywhere. I forgot what the name was, but it was like done with like a paint spray, and it was just
Like a
white.
signature.
Like a signature, just
Okay.
a signature everywhere. But I'd always wonder, who is this person and when are they walking around everywhere
this,
in the
yeah.
city, scribbling their signature everywhere? And now that's become an incredible piece of art as well, right? The graffiti has turned into something incredible, just like we've seen with the bongs. So maybe dust could be art.
I don't know about that. I'll wait for you to do it, and then I'll be like, yeah, I'm buying into it
We
now.
can only dream, Benji. We can only dream. But it would be street art nonetheless. And who knows what it could transform into.
Okay, that's an interesting one. But it's interesting to see that something that was informal, something that was seen as a nuisance, has become part of beautifying, embellishing our cities, but also has created its own ecosystem. And that ecosystem is actually creating industries for creatives in different parts of the continent. What do you think about the profession of graffiti? Do you look at your city and you're like, we don't need all these graffiti pieces all over? Or do you value this mural diversity that we're starting to see appearing in our different African cities? Give us your thoughts on our WhatsApp number, +27 63 406 9126. You can text us, voice note us there. We love hearing from you. Don't forget that live stream. Remember, we want to see you, and get onto that live stream on our Facebook page and tell us where you are coming from. There's been a lot of shout outs in Malawi. Thank you to all our Malawians for joining us there on our live stream. But hey, is there anyone else listening to Channel Africa? Is there anyone else that is actually having this fun experience we're having as we delve into the creative environments on the African continent? Come into our live stream at Channel Africa 1 on YouTube, and also our Facebook page titled Channel Africa. It's 1100 hours Central African time. Let's go back to our news team and find out what's the latest news.
SABC News. The African Perspective.
Thank you, Benjamin. Looking at your top stories, two found guilty of aiding 2019 Kenya Nairobi hotel attack, and over 2,000 people diagnosed with cholera in Sudan. Your latest news. Greetings to our listeners. A Kenyan court has found two people guilty of aiding a 2019 attack by Al-Qaeda-linked militants on a hotel and office complex in the capital that killed 21 people. In January 2019, gunmen shot their way into Nairobi's Dorset Hotel and office complex, killing 21 people in a siege that lasted more than 12 hours. Joey Lehodi reports.
At the time, the government said it had killed all the attackers who were Somali and members of the Al-Shabaab group, which claimed responsibility for the attack. The government did not say how many militants had taken part in the assault, but CCTV footage from the complex showed 5 attackers. Authorities arrested Hussein Mohammed Abdil and Mohammed Abdi Ali later that year for providing logistical support to the attackers. A third suspect, Maya Abdullahi, was earlier convicted following a plea bargain. Abdil and Ali pleaded not guilty.
South Africa's Sibanye Stillwaters says rescue efforts are underway for 289 mine workers trapped underground at its Kloof Gold mine near Johannesburg. The spokesperson said all workers are safe and accounted for, and the company is in the process of providing them food. The National Union of Mine Workers earlier said it had received reports of the incident, which it said happened yesterday. South Africa's Police Minister, Senzo Mchunu, says there's been a general decline in crime across the country. However, sexual offences, including rape and commercial crimes, have increased in the fourth quarter. Mchunu, together with National Police Commissioner General Fani Masemula, are presenting the latest crime statistics in Pretoria. Mchunu says murder rates continue to be a major concern, with Gauteng, KwaZulu-Natal and Eastern Cape and Western Cape provinces dominating criminality in the country. South Africa's Democratic Alliance Party has called for urgent action to address crime in the country, including farm murders. Yesterday, the party issued a statement in which it welcomed the Parliament's renewed focus on farm murders. The adoption of the Joint Parliamentary Committee report on farm murders was tabled on Wednesday. It includes the establishment of a specialized rural safety unit in police, strengthening crime intelligence in rural areas, and improving persecution. U.S. President Donald Trump has made claims that there is genocide in South Africa, following reports by lobby groups on the rise of killings of white farmers in the country. Democratic Alliance spokesperson Verlie Okamp has commended Agricultural Minister John Steenhuisen for proposing to make fighting farm attacks a priority.
We heard Mr. John Steenhuisen in the Oval Office said that farm attacks, farmers must be farmers, include white, black, coloured farmers. It is not only a white thing.
Lastly, more than 2,300 people have been diagnosed with cholera in Sudan over the past 3 weeks. Authorities said 90% of them were in the capital Khartoum and surrounding areas, where drone attacks have cut off electricity and water supplies. At least 51 people have died as a result of the more than 2-year war between Sudanese army, which took full control of Khartoum state this week, and the paramilitary rapid support forces, has spread hunger and disease and has destroyed most health facilities. Now, recapping on your top stories, a Kenyan court has found 2 people guilty of aiding a 2019 attack by Al-Qaeda-linked militants on a hotel and office complex in the capital that killed 21 people. In January 2019, gunmen shot their way into Nairobi's Dusit Hotel and office complex, killing 21 people in a siege that lasted more than 12 hours. Now, for any news stories you'd like to share with us, please send us an email to newsroom@channelafrica.co.za or call us at +27 11 714 4459. Channel Africa News, I am Onele Ntsinzi.
SABC News. The African Perspective.
Hey, it's 6 minutes past 11 Central Africa time, and you're tuned in to On The Move right here on Channel Africa. Log in, tap in on www.channelafrica.co.za, on the SABC Plus app under the radio section, and of course on our audio bouquets at DSTV channel 802 and OpenView HD channel 628. It's a beautiful, fun Friday looking at the world of art and the world of creativity all across the African continents. But you know that we like to end it off with some music, and this is a very exciting interview. We know that this month is Africa Month, and it's important to really highlight and see the artists who really have put African culture, their Africanness, and just how we all relate as a people as a core part of the music. This is done perfectly by musician Thandiswa Mazwai, also known as King Ta, and the King herself will be joining us on our live stream and live on air here this morning to chat a little bit about her music, her career, but also how she's used the Africanness of it all, of her life, of our lives, and of how we relate as a people is an integral part of her music. So I can't wait. We'll be chatting to Thandiswa Mazwai just in a couple of minutes. Stay tuned.
Prioritize one way, but we're giving you all these platforms so you can be able to adjust when you're in different modes or moving, or maybe you are outside your house and you want to put on your Bluetooth earsets and you just want to listen to Channel Africa via your phone. All you have to do is just download the SABC Plus app onto your phone. It's very simple. You go to any app store and then you just search for SABC Plus app and you download it. Of course, you have to sign up and log in, but then you're good to go. No payments, nothing after that. All you have to do is just make sure that you can access data or access your Wi-Fi, and then you can listen to us Channel Africa at any time of the day. So download the SABC Plus app and you can listen to Channel Africa whenever you want to, in any style that you want to, whether you are chilling or you are on the move. And yeah, man, we're looking forward to this conversation with Thandiswa Mazwai. She is of legendary status and has really been an artist who has shown her diversity, her versatility, but also she seems very direct into the pathways that she is trying to get into when it comes to her musical expressions. Thandiswa Mazwai coming up right here on Channel Africa.
Sur Channel Africa.
Nous allons danser au son de Haya, que je dédicace à vous tous, chers auditeurs, qui êtes en train de suivre cette émission Mix Vibration. N'oubliez pas, vous pouvez nous suivre à partir de l'application SABC+. Vous choisissez Channel Africa pour suivre l'émission en direct. Nous allons danser au son de Haya.
Annika Longi, tous les dimanches sur Mix Vibration.
Channel Africa and you have got something in common. The thirst for knowledge. Led, African run, and deeply rooted in its heritage. It's the only international station that speaks to Africa in its own voices: English, Kiswahili, Chinyanja, French, and Portuguese. The languages that unite 1 billion people. We have been there through every shift, every milestone, and every triumph. Not just reporting history, but shaping the conversations that define Africa's future. For brands, media planning, and advertisers, Channel Africa is more than just a platform. It's an opportunity. With 25 compelling shows covering current affairs, sports, business, music, and lifestyle, we deliver an engaging Pan-African audience ready to connect, invest, and act. Multi-award winning, internationally recognized, digitally accessible across the globe. When Africa speaks, the world listens, and Channel Africa makes sure of it. For business, for culture, for Africa, Partner with Channel Africa because Africa's voice is the future. Africa is a story, a living, breathing, ever-evolving masterpiece. And for over 5 decades now, one voice has told it like no other. Channel Africa. More than just a broadcaster, Channel Africa is the pulse of the continent, African-led, African-run, and deeply rooted in its heritage. It's the only international station that speaks to Africa in its own voices: English, Kiswahili, Chinyanja, French, and Portuguese. The languages that unite 1 billion people. We have been there through every shift, every milestone.
Oh, it's the beautiful sounds of Thandiswa Mazwai, the Kikuyu people of Kenya, the Himba people of Namibia, the Xhosa people of South Africa, and the Shona people of Zimbabwe. These are the people, these are our people.
Why did they forget us the Tswanas in that one?
You are not Nguni.
I feel so jealous on that song that they just included the Ngunis, you know.
May is Africa Month, and one person who has really embodied the spirit of Africa through her music, through her time, through her cultural and creative expressions is Thandiswa Mazwai. The king herself, King Ta, joins us on the line to speak about how she expresses herself and how she really has embodied the spirit of Africa through her journey and her music. King Ta, Thandiswa Mazwai, thank you so much for joining us this morning on The Move.
Hi, thank you for having me. Thank you.
Yeah, you own us a Botswana song, eh?
Okay, I'm going to need to. I'm going to have to now.
Yeah, because
I'm under pressure.
I've been to so many of these concerts and you just see the Ngunis on fire and you're like,
Yes.
Botswana retang.
Oh, you know what? I feel you. Okay.
Well, it's okay for me because my mother is a beautiful Xhosa woman, and so I can connect to the Abanguni through this particular song. But let's speak about that. You are one of Africa's most respected artists, and during this month, the month of May, is a month that's become quite significant to you through your journey, not just through your music, but I mean your latest album, Sankofa, was released during the month of May, and Sunday being Africa Month, it's a perfect time to speak to you, Thandiswa Mazwai, someone who embodies the spirit of this continent so well.
Yes, I mean, I grew up in a Pan-Africanist home. I was raised on these principles of Ubuntu, and so my music really centers a lot of these teachings, you know, which I think are very, very important to every African child to learn about, you know, Yindoni Nhlonipho, and some of the many teachings that come from our elders, you know. So I try to embed a lot of those things into my music.
You know, in a world where music is about meshing our interculturalness, but also our global being, it's getting more rare. In fact, there's two parts of it, because now we're becoming a global world, but it seems like African artists are moving even closer to who they are and expressing themselves through those cultural expressions. In your song, Nizalwa Ngubani, which directly translates to who births you, tell us about why it's important to really understand the history, your culture, your tradition, even in your expression of art.
I think for me, it just kind of became a way in which I could show my uniqueness to the world, you know, because if I was going to travel anywhere else in the world and try to mimic what they were doing, I couldn't stand out. And it also was about reclaiming a lot of my identity, reclaiming some of the old stories, you know. May, we also just did Ancestor Day, I think it was on the 8th of May, which really talks about this idea of reclaiming your stories, reclaiming, you know, your legacy, reclaiming your legacy. So I really try to do that through my music, because that's what makes me unique to the world. This is what makes me special in the world, is when I celebrate my Xhosa-ness, my Nguni-ness, my African-ness. And then, of course, I do integrate other things that I learned from other parts of the world.
Yeah.
But the work really centers this place. It centers where I am, where I've grown up, as an African child.
I mean, your Pan-Africanism really shouts out in your Sankofa album, not just through its, lyrical content, but also your musical choices. In fact, you're recording it in Dakar, but also getting some expertise from musicians in New York. Your friend Michelle Ndigachelo was part of the production of this. And it seems like that Pan-Africanism is something that's very close to your heart, that you see the nuances of not just us being, just Africans on the continent, but you actually see the framework from a world viewpoint. That particular reference point, what inspired it in Sankofa? And is it because you had these friendships that you wanted to explore in a deeper way on an album? Or is it because it's always been something in your back of your mind to actually explore that African context?
It's both things. You're correct. I wanted to engage my friendships first and foremost, because when you're making music, it's about love, and you want to work with people that you truly admire and people that you think admire you and you can bring out the best in one another. So I really wanted to work with Michelle Ndigachelo and Nduduzo Makhathini. They were my two major producers on the album. But I was also doing all the writing with a young Zimbabwean kid on the bass called Dendai Shoko, But also I had always wanted to record music all over the African continent, My manager, who passed away just after COVID, used to live in Mali, and he used to manage Utatu Salif Keita as well as managing me. So we had always had this plan of going to West Africa, and West Africa had always been one of my favorite places in the world. Senegal, Mali, Burkina Faso. I had been to these countries and fallen completely in love with the sound. But the Pan-Africanist ideal was something that I had been raised with, and always in my work, I think I spoke of it. But on this album, I really wanted to explore sonically what that would mean. What would it mean for us to integrate those worlds, to put those worlds together? So I really enjoyed going to Senegal and working with the musicians over there to bring the ngoni and what else did they have? All these traditional instruments that they brought in. And also sampling from South African archival recordings of umhope and, all these traditional Xhosa instruments like uati, But then also using this kind of technology that Michelle Ndigachelo kind of brought onto the album. So for me, that really created quite a beautiful conversation about the Pan-Africanist conversation, but also the conversation about the diaspora, and how we can forge links towards healing and towards like a unified strength.
I love that.
For all of us.
We're weaving in between your latest work and your history, because I think it all comes together to encompass the way in which you've, really put together an identity of the continent in your own identity as an artist. And you were speaking about, Africa Day, Ancestors Day being recently. And your ancestors aren't just in your own lineage, but those who you look from and you've looked to in your past. We'll come to that because you have great musical ancestors that you continue to really put at the forefront of your inspirations, music, and you pay homage to quite a lot. We're chatting to Thandiswa Mazwai, that's King Ta herself. It's 21 minutes past 11 Central Africa time. We'll continue chatting to her after this break.
Download the SABC app and take Channel Africa with you everywhere you go.
My name is Neto, N-E-T-O Chamani. Osiatiko, Nengezimo, Mkhanju, Phandle kunjani moyani. Voko Tendele. Africa at Play, Asteleli Siashaya. Africa's Velvet Voice is in the house. Africa at Play is a place to be, where we speak all things sport and music, from the African continent to the rest of the world. We speak to your bundles of joy in sport, 12-year-olds and below, teenagers in sport. And we speak to elite athletes, administrators, coaches, and all the behind-the-scenes stakeholders of sport and music. Africa at Play, Asteleli Siashaya. Oh yeah, oh yeah, oh yeah.
All right, we're speaking to Thandiswa Mazwai, described in The Guardian as South Africa's finest female contemporary singer. But very recently, she was trending on that NPR performance, and Africans were super happy about that one. But she has been an artist that has transcended many genre forms, but also has been very genre bending in how she's confronted not being just boxed in one ideal and one conceptualization, but also she's harvested a template in which she does not walk alone in the music, but there's a context in which many who have been part of this African Renaissance theme of our musical expression here in South Africa, on the continent, is something that she is so super proud of. And let's speak about that, because I think that context is so important. The fact that you've always been leveraging especially the female voice of those who come before you, Thandiswa. I remember very, very young as a journalist, and just before Busi Mhlongo passed away, there was her final launch of her final album, and you were in the mix and you had this wonderful performance with her. And it seemed like the likes of Miriam Makeba, who you've also met and you've had a close relationship, the likes of Busi Mhlongo, are spirits that kind of you keep recalling back into your musical expression. Why is that so?
Well, I mean, first of all, what an incredible blessing to have had these legends in my life, as a young artist, to mentor me and to kind of talk life into the rest of my career, what would happen in my career. They taught me so much that there's almost no way that I can do what I do without paying homage to them over and over and over again. And it's true, that there is great. There's a lot to be thankful for in the fact that not only have I been able to get the teachings from Mambere Makeba about Pan-Africanism, or from Busi Mhlongo about this deep pride in who you are, but that I was also able to encounter physically, to wash their feet, to drink their tea, to have conversations with them, to hold their hand, to maybe help them go up a pair of stairs, because many of them were a lot older than me,
Sure.
So that blessing for me is something that I can never, ever, ever, kind of live down. Or, so I continue their legacy. I continue the sound. I continue the teachings of being a proud Pan-Africanist and being a strong woman, who's also gracious, who's also has this incredible grace about her. So this is still something that I hope that I can one day attain, the kind of grace that Mam Miriam Makeba had, or the power that Mam Busi Mhlongo had, their ability to create change, their ability to use their music for prayers, for healing. So, I'm a student in that school, and I think that my duty is to continue the legacy of what they've begun.
Thandiswa, speaking about legacy, you have this incredible ability through who you are, through your music and through your expression, to really showcase what legacy looks like, even from an audience point of view. I've been to a few of your concerts, and when you go to a Thandiswa concert or a place where she performs, you'll find a 60-year-old there sing along, but you'll also find a Gen Zer, someone maybe in her 20s right now or in their 20s right now, also, understanding the context, also singing along, also dancing along. And those are generations of people who have connected and are centered by one thing. How do you do that? How do you bring together generations of people to understand one cultural expression?
This is something I can never explain. I don't know how it happened, but I think it began with the fact that Mamira Makeba accepted me into this world, and that Brahu Masikela accepted me, that they would call out my name, that it allowed an older generation to view me in a different way. And then my generation obviously grew up with me, and then they began to teach their children my music. So now I have 16-year-olds, 19-year-olds who listen to my music. But you're right, I also have people that are older than me who somehow, when they come to me, they tell me that there's something about me that is nostalgic. It reminds them of a certain time. It reminds them of Sophia Town, of Mama Mira Makeba. And I think it's because of the fact that I do pay homage to them, so much. But yeah, I have no idea what has happened, because, the audience comes almost to be a part of the show. They don't come as people who look at the show. They don't watch the show. They're part of the performance, they sing along, they dance, they speak, they insist on their presence in the room. And I really love that. I love the fact that, it has become a communal celebration when we go on the stage. It's not so much about the excellence of some people on the stage, but the fact that the community has come together to celebrate, to weep, to be joyful, whatever it is, to express their rage. So I'm really thankful to the audiences for having found that little niche, that place where we could, access the magic together.
All right, we have to wrap it off, but I have to give you some props here because you've always been cool. You've always had a wonderful fashion aesthetic, but on Sankofa, you really took it to the next level. What was that fashion all about in terms of incorporating those wonderful outfit pieces and all your performances that integrated different art pieces from different parts of the continent through your travels, but also you had real intention in how you were representing King Ta. I think for the first time, we now know who King Ta is.
I think so. I think that's really what we were playing at. We were playing at this idea of King Ta, this kind of grand identity, and, sometimes kind of playing into some of the mythology that exists around this King Ta personality. So, we just kind of had fun with fashion, with, a lot of great African aesthetics, bringing in kentes, bringing in a lot of different fabrics from Ghana, from West Africa, from East Africa, kind of using all of those as references. Yeah.
Fantastic. Thank you, King Ta, for having a very pensive conversation with us and joining us for just really catching up with you and just delving in some of your musical directions and also your creative choices. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
That is the incredible Thandiswa Mazwai, King Ta, speaking about Africa in her music and how we can all connect. This one comes from one of her latest album, Sankofa, and it's titled Sabela. We'll hear a little bit more of that after our news break. It's 11:31 Central Africa time. Let's get our latest sports news.
Sports on Channel Africa. The African perspective.
And a very good morning from the sports desk. I am Musibu Dimakura with the latest sports news at the SAWA. The Confederation of African Football, CAF, on Thursday officially unveiled a new Total Energies CAF trophy for the Champions League together with their partners Total Energies, marking a bold new chapter in the legacy of Africa's Premier Club competition. The unveiling took place at the headquarters of the Total Energies company, Johannesburg, and was also attended by some African football legends, including Lucas Radebe, Teko Modise, as well as Piwe Shabalala, as well as several other football African leaders. On one of the two finalists, that is Mamelodi Sundowns' Pyramids FC, will be making history when they become the first team to lift the new trophy. Now, CAF's official unveiling of the striking new trophy design is far more than just a mere replacement. It also represents a powerful evolution of CAF's commitment to modernization as well as innovation. As part of CAF's broader strategy to rebrand as well as elevate its competitions, the new design was also conceived to amplify the visual impact of African football's most coveted prize. Well, Mamelodi Sundowns defender Musa Libusa this week downplayed the notable contributions to the team ahead of the CAF Champions League final. The 32-year-old is finishing off the season strong with regular game time, having initially appeared as a French player under coach Miguel Cardoso until teammate Lucas Suarez came under a lot of heavy criticism recently. Libusa started both semi-final matches against Al Ahly and also proved his worth in Cardoso's eyes, but the player was modest when this was pointed out to him.
I think everyone is really important in the team. On my side, I just think, like you said, I haven't been playing, and what I did was just to support everyone that's been playing and make sure that when my time comes, I grab it with both hands. And also, the coaching staff, they believed in me, and they always told me that I'm very important to the team, and that it showed when they put me in the semis.
Libusa is also hoping Sundowns will take full advantage of playing the first leg of the Champions League final at home, as they will not be underestimating Pyramids in their own backyard in Cairo next week.
We mainly focus on ourselves. Yeah, we did get a chance to watch that game, and I think it's no chance that they got where they are, and it's really going to be difficult. But we have a very strong technical team that has been analyzing them, and also on our side as players, we've been analyzing them, see where we can capitalize on them, and as well as not neglecting us, how we got to where we are, and trying to work hard to make sure.
On to this now, the 2025 FIFA Arab Cup will have a record prize fund of more than $36.5 million, with the Qatar local organising committee confirming the news on Thursday. The competition, which features senior men's national teams from 22 member Union of Arab Football Associations, also known as UAFA, representing both Asia as well as Africa, takes place from the 1st until the 18th of December this year. Having taken over the organisation from UAFA, which initially ran the event, FIFA has been in charge since the tournament's revival in 2021, when it was reported that the prize money of that year was $25.5 million. Now, the draw will be held this coming Sunday in Doha, with defending champions Algeria one of the favourites to win again this year's competition. The draw, meanwhile, for the pool stages of the 2027 Men's Rugby World Cup is set to take place in December, with World Rugby confirming the news on a Thursday. The tournament will also be staged in Australia. That's from the 1st of October to the 13th of November 2027, and will be expanded to take in 24 teams rather than the 20 teams as has been the case since the 1999 World Cup. The teams will be divided into 6 pools of 4 teams. Now, 16 teams are so far qualified for the World Cup in 2027, including the 2-time defending champions South Africa, France, New Zealand, Italy, Ireland, Scotland, Fiji, Australia, England, Argentina, Japan, Georgia, Spain, Portugal, as well as Romania. Meanwhile, the final qualifying tournament will be held in Dubai from the 8th until the 18th of November. And that concludes your sports news this morning on Channel Africa. For any sports stories you'd like to share with us, my email address is newsroom@channelafrica.co.za, or Call us on +27 11714 4459. Have a great sporting weekend. For Channel Africa Sport, I am Musibudi Makura.
Sports on Channel Africa. The African Perspective. Africa Update on Channel Africa with Lulu Kabu.
Protesters in Ghana have accused the country's president of violating the constitution and interfering in the independence of the judiciary. Eric Mawena Egbeta, the opposition protesters are calling for the reinstatement of Tokonu.
The presidency and the president and all of its spokespersons around the seat of government have had one narrative and one narrative only, that no constitutional breaches have occurred in the process up until now, which has resulted in the suspension of the Chief Justice. In fact, it does appear the government has already communicated to these protesters that we're not interested in having the Chief Justice return and fill her position until the determination of the matter. We believe that she must remain suspended for the investigations to take place, after which the final determination will inform whether or not she returns.
Africa Update with Lulu Kabu, 12 to 1 p.m. Central African Time.
All right, let's get to our latest business news.
Business news on Channel Africa. The African Perspective.
Good morning. Egypt is in talks with energy firms and trading houses to buy 40 to 60 cargoes of liquefied natural gas amid a worsening energy crunch ahead of peak summer demand. Sources say the country faces spending up to $3 billion at current prices to secure the LNG. This puts a squeeze on government coffers already under strain to keep the lights on amid falling gas production and a cost of living crisis. According to the statement, President Abdel Fattah al-Sisi has directed the government to preemptively take whatever needs necessary to ensure stable electricity flow. Egypt endured rolling blackouts in the past 2 years as natural gas supplies fell short of demand. The country's own gas output in February hit its lowest level in 9 years. South Africa's Automobile Association has strongly criticized government's decision to increase the general fuel levy. Finance Minister Enoch Godongwana announced a 16 South African cents per litre increase for petrol and 15 South African cents per litre for diesel on Wednesday when he tabled the 2025 budget. The fuel levy hike, which is set to take effect next month, comes after a 3-year freeze. The AA has warned that it will exacerbate the cost of living for South Africans. Spokesperson Elena Mavimbela.
We do think it could not have come at a worse time because consumers are currently having to battle high food prices, high electricity tariffs, high unemployment and the likes. And fuel is an input cost across all economic sectors. So when fuel goes up, it means transportation costs go up. It means operational costs go up, meaning that it drives up inflation. So consumers across the board, not just motorists, are going to suffer because of the increase in the GFL.
Mavimbela further says they'll engage with civil society, labour and the transport sector to identify fair and sustainable revenue models.
We definitely do think that it's time for us to try to find other funding models for the taxes that form part of the fuel price, to looking at your general fuel levy as well as your road accident fund levy that forms part of the fuel pricing structure. Another thing is we definitely do think that there needs to be transparency and a forensic audit done with regards to the revenue generated and how it's used with regards to the general fuel levy and the road accident fund levy.
German investment company Union Investments has cut its stake in Total Energies following fresh allegations of abuse at a $15 billion project in East Africa. The allegations made by non-profit Just Finance International concern the Kingfisher oil site in Uganda, which is part of the East African crude oil pipeline project in which Total Energies has a 62% stake. Sisi Sakhale has more.
A report released in May by Just Finance International says it found evidence of alleged forced evictions, violence against women, beatings and extortion by Ugandan security forces at the Kingfisher oil site in late 2024. The report was based on interviews with more than 40 people living and working in the area over the past few years. Total Energies has denied the allegations.
Britain has signed a deal to cede sovereignty of the Chagos Islands to Mauritius. This after a London judge overturned a last-minute injunction and cleared the way for an agreement the government says is vital to protect the nation's security. The multi-billion-dollar deal will allow Britain to retain control of the strategically important US-UK airbase in Diego Garcia, the largest island of the archipelago in the Indian Ocean. The financial component of the deal includes $4 billion to be paid by Britain to Mauritius over the 99-year term of the agreement, with an option of a 50-year extension and Britain maintaining the right of refusal thereafter. Now for a look at our financial indicators this morning. $1 in Nigeria is trading at 159 naira 35. In Botswana, it's at 13 pula 32. Kenya, the dollar is trading at 128 shilling 37. And in Zambia, it's at 27 kwacha 19. Moving along to the BRICS countries, $1 in Brazil is trading at 5 reals 65. Russia, 79 rubles 65. India, 85 rupees 87. China, 7 yuan 20. And South Africa, $1 is trading at 17 rand 98 cents. $1 is trading at 74 pence to the British pound and 88 to the euro. Looking at the commodities, gold is trading at $3,330 and platinum at $1,097 per ounce, while the price of Brent crude oil is at $63.99 a barrel. And those are your final business news this morning. For any business stories you'd like to share with us, please send an email to newsroom@channelafrica.co.za or call us on +27 11 714 4459. For Channel Africa Business, I am Buntle Hedbush.
Business News on Channel Africa. The African Perspective. 9 to 12 midday, Central African Time. On the Move with Palesa Tau and Benjamin Moshatamaand. Every triumph, not just reporting history, but shaping the conversations that define Africa's future. For brands, media planning, and advertisers, Channel Africa is more than just a platform. It's an opportunity. With 25 compelling shows covering current affairs, sports, business, music, and lifestyle, we deliver an engaging Pan-African audience ready to connect, invest, and act. Multi-award winning, internationally recognized, digitally accessible across the globe. When Africa speaks, the world listens, and Channel Africa makes sure of it. For business, for culture, for Africa, partner with Channel Africa, because Africa's voice is the future. Africa is a story. A living, breathing, ever-evolving masterpiece. And for over 5 decades now, one voice has told it like no other. Channel Africa. More than just a broadcaster, Channel Africa is the pulse of the continent. African-led, African-run, and deeply rooted in its heritage. It's the only international station that speaks to Africa in its own voices. English, Kiswahili, Chinyanja, French, and Portuguese. The languages that unite 1 billion people. We have been there through every shift, every milestone, and every triumph. Not just reporting history, but shaping the conversations that define Africa's future. For brands, media planning, and advertisers, Channel Africa is more than just a platform. It's an opportunity. With 25 compelling shows covering current affairs, sports, business, music, and lifestyle, we deliver an engaging Pan-African audience ready to connect, invest, and act. Multi-award winning, internationally recognized, digitally accessible across the globe. When Africa speaks, the world listens, and Channel Africa makes sure of it. For business, for culture, for Africa. Partner with Channel Africa because Africa's voice is the future. Africa is a story, a living, breathing, ever-evolving masterpiece. And for over 5 decades now, one voice has told it like no other. Channel Africa. More than just a broadcaster, Channel Africa is the pulse of the continent, African-led, African-run, and deeply rooted in its heritage. It's the only international station that speaks to Africa in its own voices. English, Kiswahili, Chinyanja, French, and Portuguese. The languages that unite 1 billion people. Kaboo, getting in-depth, powerful stories, and the perspective you won't hear anywhere else. The Upside, 1 till 4, live and real, with Tepu Kholikweleni and Nompumelelo Ngubeni. Tame Ngubeni talks money, Africa in business, 4 till 5 p.m. 5 till 6, we put on a little bit more color. Vue d'Afrique, with Joël Moteba. We go to East and Central Africa and find Darubinia Africa with I Am Shakif. Madapiri gives us some life. Zochi Tika, 7 till 8 p.m. Maria Mokumalo comes in 8 till 9. We get some useful knowledge. Kalodiscopia. 9 till 10, we take a look in Africa and beyond. Africa World Hour with Sipiso Makwetla. And we close it up with some love. The Hotlines with Shailen Dikumana. 10 till 12 p.m. on Channel Africa. Across borders, across time zones. On air, online. This is Channel Africa. Africa has a voice, and that voice is Channel Africa. It keeps you in motion, speaking, singing, questioning, rising. Wake up with Rise and Shine, 6 till 9. Peter and Asanda, as they bring you breaking news, sharp analysis, and the voices that shape the day. At mid-morning, we get on the move with Palesa and Benjamin, digging into the African lifestyle, people, and the things that make Africa smile. 12 till 1, Africa Update with Lulu Kaboo. Getting in-depth, powerful stories, and the perspective you won't hear anywhere else. The Upside, 1 till 4, live and real, with Tepu Kholikweleni and Nompumelelo Ngubeni. Tame Ngubeni talks money, Africa in business, 4 till 5 p.m. 5 till 6, we put on a little bit more color. Vue d'Afrique, with Joël Moteba. We go to East and Central Africa and find Darubinia Africa with I Am Shakif. Madapiri gives us some life. Zochi Tika, 7 till 8 p.m. Maria Mokumalo comes in 8 till 9. We get some useful knowledge. Kalodiscopia. 9 till 10, we take a look in Africa and beyond. Africa World Hour with Sipiso Makwetla. And we close it up with some love. The Hotlines with Shailen Dikumana. 10 till 12 p.m. on Channel Africa. Across borders, across time zones. On air, online. This is Channel Africa. Africa has a voice, and that voice is Channel Africa. It keeps you in motion, speaking, singing, questioning, rising. Wake up with Rise and Shine, 6 till 9. Peter and Asanda, as they bring you breaking news, sharp analysis, and the voices that shape the day. At mid-morning, we get on the move with Palesa and Benjamin, digging into the African lifestyle, people, and the things that make Africa smile. 12 till 1, update.
What a cool conversation.
Getting in-depth, powerful stories, and the perspective you won't hear anywhere else. The Upside, 1 till 4, live and real, with Tepu Kholikweleni and Nompumelelo Ngubeni. Tame Ngubeni talks money, Africa in business, 4 till 5 p.m. 5 till 6, we put on a little bit more color. Vue d'Afrique, with Joël Moteba. We go to East and Central Africa and find Darubinia Africa with I Am Shakif. Madapiri gives us some life. Zochi Tika, 7 till 8 p.m. Maria Mokumalo comes in 8 till 9. We get some useful knowledge. Kalodiscopia. 9 till 10, we take a look in Africa and beyond. Africa World Hour with Sipiso.
What to wear, who to see, and ultimately what to do. We aspire to bring you the best travel entertainment with a dash or maybe a dose of laughter. And then, of course, we switch things up a bit when we look at technology. I love what's happening with AI because you blink, something new pops up. So the challenge is constantly there. I'm learning every single time on the show. So catch me every single Saturday and Sunday at 9 a.m. until 12 midday Central African Time, Baba.
We are on Open View's audio bouquet. Channel 628. And we close it up with some love. The Hotlines with Shayla Ndikumana, 10 till 12 p.m. on Channel Africa. Across borders, across time zones, on air, online. This is Channel Africa. Africa has a voice, and that voice is Channel Africa. It keeps you in motion, speaking, singing, questioning, rising. Wake up with Rise and Shine 6 till 9. Peter and Asanda as they bring you breaking news, sharp analysis, and the voices that shape the day. At mid-morning, we get on the move with Palesa and Benjamin, digging into the African lifestyle, people, and the things that make Africa smile. 12 till 1, Africa Update with Lulu Kabu, getting in-depth, powerful stories, and the perspective you won't hear anywhere else. The Upside, 1 till 4, live and real, with Tepu Kholikweleni and Nompumelelo Ngubeni. Tame Ngubeni talks money, Africa in business, 4 till 5 p.m. 5 till 6, we put on a little bit more color. Vue d'Afrique, with Joël Moteba. We go to East and Central Africa and find Darubinia Africa with I Am Shakif. Madapiri gives us some life. Zochi Tika, 7 till 8 p.m. Maria Mokumalo comes in 8 till 9. We get some useful knowledge. Kalodiscopia, 9 till 10. We take a look in Africa and beyond. Africa World Hour with Sipiso Makwetla. And we close it up with some love. The Hotlines with Shayla Ndikumana, 10 till 12 p.m. on Channel Africa. Across borders, across time zones, on air, online. This is Channel Africa. Africa has a voice, and that voice is Channel Africa. It keeps you in motion, speaking, singing, questioning, rising. Wake up with Rise and Shine 6 till 9. Peter and Asanda as they bring you breaking news, sharp analysis, and the voices that shape the day. At mid-morning, we get on the move with Palesa and Benjamin, digging into the African lifestyle, people, and the things that make Africa smile. 12 till 1, Africa Update with Lulu Kabu, getting in-depth, powerful stories, and the perspective you won't hear anywhere else. The Upside, 1 till 4, live and real, with Tepu Kholikweleni and Nompumelelo Ngubeni. Tame Ngubeni talks money, Africa in business, 4 till 5 p.m. 5 till 6, we put on a little bit more color. Vue d'Afrique with Joël Moteba. We go to East and Central Africa and find Darubinia Africa with I Am Shakif. Madapiri gives us some life. Zochi Tika, 7 till 8 p.m. Maria Mokumalo comes in 8 till 9. We get some useful knowledge. Kalodiscopia, 9 till 10. We take a look in Africa and beyond. Africa World Hour with Sipiso Makwetla. And we close it up with some love. The Hotlines with Shayla Ndikumana, 10 till 12 p.m. on Channel Africa. Across borders, across time zones, on air, online. This is Channel Africa.
That is King Promise. This one is titled Terminator.
Africa has a voice.
And it wraps up our beautiful Friday right here on The Move. Of course, we have to make way for the Africa Update. And today, we are joined by Innocent Simosa, who will be standing in for Lulu Gabu on today's Africa Update. Happy Friday. How are you doing?
Friday, colleague. A very good afternoon to our listeners around the world. It's good to be alongside you. And I must say that I enjoyed the conversation around street culture.
Yeah.
And the Ndebele without color. I think
yes,
that's a beautiful
on the car, right? 100%. I'm glad you get it. Benjamin doesn't get it at all.
Yeah.
But let us know what's coming up on today's Africa Update.
Indeed, we've got a beautiful show ahead of us. Of course, we'll be looking at, as the world, we're getting closer to the world, observe the Africa Day. South Africa's Freedom Park, in partnership with a ZA Central Registry, will be having an event in Tanzania. But of course, this will be speaking about issues around silencing the guns. You would know, colleague, that we've got issues of crime in the continent. In fact, when President Ramaphosa was talking to Trump, he was mentioning that it's not targeted, but everybody is facing the issue of crime. So we need to start with silencing the gun. So we'll be talking to Executive Dean of the Thabo Mbeki African School of International and Public Affairs, who's currently in Tanzania. Of course, her name is Professor Edith Paswana.
Nice. Well, you're looking suave with your leather jacket. I took mine off because, the Thandiso Mazwai interview was so hot.
Yeah.
And so I got a little hot. So just to match with you, let me put my leather jacket back on and get ready for the Africa Update. Thank you so much. We're looking forward to the show. And thank you for joining us today, not just by listening live, but joining us on our live streams as well. It's always incredible hang out with you, Channel Africa family. We'll be back again next week. Have a fantastic weekend and a great day. And stay tuned to Channel Africa.
We have been there through every shift, every milestone, and every triumph. Not just reporting history, but shaping the conversations that define Africa's future. For brands, media planning, and advertisers, Channel Africa is more than just a platform. It's an opportunity. With 25 compelling shows covering